What's up, everybody? Great Monday morning to you. Welcome back. Your midday hang is assembled in full force to begin 20 hours of live local San Diego sports talk radio with you, 4 at a time over the course of 5 days. It's Annie and Elsten on 97.3 The Fan. Annie Halburn's here. I'm Craig Elsten. Braden Suprenant alongside in our Odyssey studios overlooking Murphy Canyon. Ready to roll till 2 o'clock when Chris will check in then. We got Sam Levitt live at the winter meetings. He'll be joining us just after the 12 o'clock sports fix. We'll get you the latest from Dallas. But first, we say good morning to Annie. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone listening. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I'm doing great. Had some baseball news happen over the weekend, which was
baseball-y things.
Baseball-y things, yes. I was going to say it's fun, but it really wasn't. I'm not sure if it was fun.
Was it fun?
Right. Was it fun? But it was baseball-y things, and I'm excited for the winter meetings. I don't know why. Nothing hardly ever happens there anymore, but maybe something's going to happen this week.
Well, something already happened. I think a lot of things are going to happen this week.
There you go.
It's
maybe
a lot
something
different.
happened with the Padres.
Well, remember last year, right? Everything was held up for Shohei Ohtani. The whole world was held up for Shohei Ohtani, and that holdup kept up till when did Shohei sign? January? I believe it certainly wasn't at the winter meetings. So the whole winter meetings were like do, and then on the third day we traded Juan Soto, and that was the entire thing. No one really signed. Nothing really happened. This year was going to be different. Boris learned his lesson last year. His Boris 4 flamed out. This year he had the Golden Goose, and he turned it into the big show, right? Rounds of negotiating and new offers and, keep it in the press day by day. And now last night, Juan Soto is where we thought he was going to be 2 years ago. He's a New York man. Mm-hmm. What a shocker.
Ohtani signed December 11th.
December 11th. Is that right? Okay, but it was still after the winter meetings.
Right. Winter meetings are usually
first weekend.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, are we going to talk about it? What are we going to do? What do you guys want to do? You want to talk about that?
I can't believe how much money. Well, it's amazing to me. It's everything that we've already talked about when it comes to how much money he got. I can't believe somebody's willing to go $51 million AAV a year for 15 years for a DH. It just doesn't make any sense. And then you throw in the Cohen factor. And to be honest with you, if the guy is worth $20 billion and he just wants to give almost $1 billion to one player, is it really that big of a risk for him or that organization? They could still build around him. They're just decided to pay a bunch of other teams in the process, or Citi Field's going to look badass in the next couple of years with all the upgrades that they're going to put into that thing.
I think obviously they can afford it. He had to go to a team that could afford to get him and still build around him, and that's a team that can do it. And I think it's an astonishing number. My jaw dropped as much as everyone else's. But you're worth what you are going to be paid, right? You're worth what they're willing
somebody's
to pay
willing
you.
to pay you.
And it wasn't just the Mets; it was the Yankees too. The Yankees were willing to pay him $5 million shy of what the Mets were. So it wasn't just like the Mets were the only ones. That deal gets him to over $800 million if all the bonuses and all the escalators work out. Biggest deal in sports history, not just MLB, sports history. And I love this was in, it was so fascinating to me to learn about the Yankees thing and everything. But when The Athletic had a story about how Juan Soto, the courting of him was different with the Mets. Steve Cohen flew him to his home. They had it at his home instead of the hotel. They talked a lot about the future. I think Juan Soto felt like the Mets were the better choice. I don't think it was the $5 million. It was the Mets were the better choice for him, maybe long term, and what they were trying to do there. But Steve Cohen, ever since he purchased the Mets in 2020, has been trying to do this, and he's failed a few times. He's learned along the way that this just throwing money at things isn't going to work. But I think that this is a big coup for them in a city where they've got to make a difference when you've got the Yankees right down the road and you've got so many other options for these fans to go sports-wise. Will it make a huge difference come playoff time? Will it be the deciding factor that gets them to a World Series? I don't know, but will it be something that this team uses to build and get their fan base excited and have something that they can be, working toward the future in terms of a roster that is a very competitive roster? Yeah,
Is it worth the overpay though?
We talked about that last. Is it an overpay to him?
We talked.
Is it an overpay to the Mets?
It is an
know?
overpay.
It's only an
You
overpay if you can't afford it.
Right, but if they can
But
afford it, then
it is an overpay because he's not. He's really not. It's they're going to spend all this money, and it's just going to be like, they probably could have done the exact same thing. Let's say they win a World Series, right? But it took them like $2 billion to do, and other teams can win World Series for way less. Why are you just spending all that money? I mean, that's still an overpay. You're still overpaying for this guy, even if you could afford it or not. If you wanted to buy a house out in Hamul and it's worth X amount of dollars to somebody else, and then you spend, let's say it's worth $1 million, and you decide, I really want this house, I'm going to spend $70 million on this house because I have it, it's still an overpay. You're still overpaying for the property.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But they're just, he's got tons of money, and it's his toy. That's what you want as an owner, though. If you're a fan, you want an owner that's not running a business. This is his toy, and that's exactly how he's treating the Mets. So if this is move number one, then they got a lot of holes. I'm curious to see what the other moves are going to be like for this New York Mets.
Well, they're coming,
team.
guys. They're coming because right now, the Mets, I'm just looking at the roster resource page, with Juan Soto's deal factored in, and it's not even official yet, but they can just jump ahead on it with all the reporting and all the news. The payroll number, the luxury tax number, is the same as the payroll number, actually, for the New York Mets, so bully on them for that, and it's $251 million. So it's only $10 million higher than your San Diego Padres, gang, or depending on you calculate it, $7 million higher than your San Diego Padres.
And what is it? It's not the Shohei. It honestly makes the Shohei Ohtani contract look like nothing, because not only do you have with Shohei Ohtani a two-way player, you have a guy who his deferrals made that contract value less. So instead of it being $700 million, the ultimate end value is less than that because of all the deferrals. It makes it look like a steal of a contract almost, based on that. And then you look at the Shohei Ohtani effect of how much money the team makes off of him because of Japan and the fans there and the sponsorships and corporate and everything there. That's not the same with Soto. However, I don't know what the end value is of maybe getting more fans in the building, maybe getting other free agents to sign there. Who knows? I thought this was so crazy from The Athletic. So they had an article about it today, and they said, to put Soto's bonanza in perspective, consider that the Fenway Sports Group purchased the Boston Red Sox for $700 million in 2002. So this contract is more than the entire Boston Red Sox team was. Soto will receive more than twice the payday fetched by former teammate Aaron Judge. He had a 10-year, $360 million contract after 2022.
Bargain. And
he'll earn nearly $4 million more in 2025 than the entire Athletics opening day payroll in 2022. And he bet on himself. I mean, it was so crazy to us to see someone turn down $440 million. He ends up getting nearly twice that. And I remember him talking in the clubhouse about how when he turned down that $440 million, his family was mad at him. It was a very dark time for him. No one can understand why he did it. But when you look back to it, what the Nationals became, they were looking to sell their franchise at the time. They ended up being in major rebuilds after that. I think that Soto eventually wanted to go to a competitor, not a team that was going to be perpetually like Trout and the Angels, where you've got a superstar, but you really can never get much more going beyond that, right? Even with Ohtani with the Angels.
If Juan Soto wanted to sign to win, he would have taken a deferred deal with L.A. If he really wanted to win on the East Coast, he would have signed with the Yankees. And
for $5 million less.
And the Yankees offered him a paltry $760 million.
But do you really look at the Yankees from last year and think that the Mets can't be as good as the Yankees? The Mets were right there.
I don't think the Mets are very good.
And the Yankees weren't very good in the World Series.
Yeah, I know, but it's just based on the resources. I can't look at the Mets and just be like, this team's Juan Soto away from being way better than the Yankees. I mean, they're relatively the same.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, all right? A basic bottom line that we can start on and then we can build from, right? It's bad news that Juan Soto signed with the Mets. It's bad news.
It's bad for anybody in the division. Well, I don't know. Is it? Does it change?
He plays in the National League.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
The Padres can never get to the World Series without playing through the playoffs of the National League unless they change. And now you got L.A. and New York, two teams that are going to – because the Mets aren't done. They're not close to done.
It'd be incredibly idiotic if they were.
They're going to be last year's payroll in New York was $336 million. Right now it's 251 with Soto. That tells me they've got $80-90 million of average annual value next year to spend on their team still. Never mind the taxes that Cohen will pay over the top of that. So it's bad news because there's 6 playoff spots in the National League year by year. LA's got one on lock forever, and the Mets are trying to lock up theirs and be like, we're going to be there every single year forever. And then you look to the other big money teams and you look to the other well-constructed teams in the National League and you realize that's where we have to fight. It was an all bad news weekend for the Padres. While I don't yet fear San Francisco, Willy Adames signing in San Francisco is bad news for the Padres. He's in our division now. A divisional rival got better. And if they happen to sign Corbin Burns and they're in the market for Corbin Burns, that's really bad news for the Padres. This is the other side of the argument I was trying to make y'all when Blake Snell signed last week. Let L.A. sign literally every single free agent, become a 152-10 team, and then we're facing a much weaker field out there for one of 5 spots. But instead, we're seeing teams in the National League, the money teams in the National League, moneying up and spending up. And within all of this, we have to bring up the context that the Padres are not doing any of this. And not only are they not doing any of this, but Kevin Acee, who's the closest reporter to the Padres, San Diego Union-Tribune, reported in his winter meetings preview that not locked in, but he said many indications that the Padres are looking to cut payroll. Cut.
I've been trying to wrap my head around this because, okay, so I completely believe what Kevin's saying here. They're going to go higher than the 169, but they're also going to cut, so you're going to end up 180 to 200 maybe. What I don't know is how are you going to get other players onto your roster if you're cutting, because you're already kind of up against it.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. So, as usual, a good story. You understand, he's getting sourcing from the team. There's some language in there in that article that I thought the team really wanted in there. And you just referenced it, though. You just referenced it. Well, it's going to be higher than 169. Guys, hello? We're not idiots out here in the audience. We can look at roster resource too. Like, we know that Fernando Tatis Jr. gets a raise this year. We know that Manny Machado gets a raise this year. We know that Yu Darvish gets a raise this year. We know that Suarez got a raise this year, that Yuki gets a raise this year, that Wandy gets a raise this year. It's higher than 169 because you made it higher than 169.
It's already built in.
With your built-in raises,
Yeah.
It's 209 today. That doesn't mean anything. If you say you're going to cut, you have to eliminate players from this
that's
team.
it. That was the kind of the implied thing in that article, is because you're absolutely right. They already have those built-in raises. They have to go above 169 because they've given those contracts to those players, and those players are going to get that guaranteed money. They're not going to move all those players. However, if you're going to get lower than 209, then you've got to move some of those players and get some of that money off of your books. So
Bingo.
that inherently kind of gets you to, they're probably is an okay word to use at this point, looking to move Arise or Cease or I guess Suarez or somebody to get some money down and get some players in return.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can do it.
What they say, they were going to be over 169. That was their big thing.
Be over
That's what they were last year, right?
In 2026, they're already at 172. 2027, they're already at 172. The only time that they actually would be under 169 would be 2028, and they're at 134. And those are just contracts that are currently on the team.
Now, I do agree with Nate in the chat, and some others in the chat that are saying, weren't we all saying this last year? And they ended up going out and fielding a very good team.
They traded Juan Soto.
They did. They traded Juan
so
Soto for a bunch of pieces, and they don't currently have.
I
Juan
call it
Soto.
a poor man's Juan Soto deal. So that's not a slight on Arise or Cease or anyone. It's just that you're not going to get the bounty back that Juan Soto got. But that's essentially what they're looking at.
Yes.
You're looking to do that sort of thing.
And then again, you are subtracting players from the team.
That you're going to need to fill those spots. That's the thing.
And then you're just adding more roster holes that
Right.
you have to deal with.
Yeah. I was here already, kind of, but now I'm all the way here. I'm just going to say this plain and clear, and then you're going to hear me say it over and over. The Padres have to trade Dylan Cease. They have to. They have really no choice.
I think they have to trade Arise too.
Maybe.
I don't even think they have a
Probably
choice.
yes. I think probably yes, they have to trade Arise. But Luis Arise is a character on the market that has a different story whatever door you open.
Yeah.
So you
His
might open
value.
one door and it's
Right.
like, oh yeah, we think he's cool. And another door, they're like, shut up with your Arise talk. Close the door again. Dylan Cease, in today's market now, where he's going to get paid $8 million less than Nick Martinez this year, in all likelihood. His deal isn't set, but based on where things are projected. He's as valuable as anything you can trade for 1 year. The Brewers traded 1 year of Corbin Burns to the Orioles. They got a third baseman in Ortiz that they're going to play for years and years. The Orioles got what they needed. They won, 90-something games and won a wild card. And now they're moving on. And they're not going to be able to afford Corbin Burns. But you know what they have? They have a farm system that's as flush as anybody. And you know what they need? They need Dylan Cease. They need to redo the Burns trade. And the Padres need to be on the receiving end of that deal. The Padres need to trade Dylan Cease to the Orioles. Now, it might not work out that way. Maybe it doesn't come together, but it's a perfect type move that could bring over to San Diego useful things. You could get a Keaston Kerstad or a Cowser, someone that could go play left field. Because guess what, gang? You ain't signing Profar. Profar ain't coming through that door. No, the Padres aren't going to sign one free agent before February, I predict.
Well, Profar's, that money has gone way up. If you watch the outfielders, and we'll get into it, I'm sure, over the next few hours, the outfielder costs have gone sky high, my friends. And
Sky
so if they can bring back Profar, it means that they've moved other money to be able to do it. And he's probably taking a deal that is less years than he would get otherwise, I would imagine, because they just probably can't extend themselves that far. Or he's taking a less money per year deal that would help the Padres in their AAV, but he will get an overall larger contract with the Padres, maybe that he could get somewhere else, hence just more money at the end of the day. We'll see. Any of it seems like unlikely to me at this point, just because the market for outfielders has been what it has over the last few days. It's skyrocketed. I see Jorge Castillo. I'm not sure if I got that. Did I get that? Yeah, Jorge Castillo saying that the Padres are eyeing Jonathan Loaisiga.
Loaisiga, yeah. Loaisiga.
And I'm sure we'll hear a lot more of this over the next few days, kind of who they're eyeing, who they're not. But it is hard to imagine they can keep their roster intact and then get all the other people that they need to fill some of that. I do believe they still have a competitive roster. Sometimes we are too myopic, I think, in the way that we look at it, because we see them every day and it's like, no, you got to make moves. And they do. They need to fill spots. They need to get better on the edges if they're not bringing some people back. They need to get better on in the core if they're not bringing some people back. But they still have players that another team will look at, or that we should look at also, and say, like, these guys are good players. They are going to be a competitive core still.
Correct. And that's, you know what? When we say this, I was thinking about this literally, like getting into the car today, that we were going to wind up walking down this road rhetorically. And when we say stuff like this, I very much understand, especially right now when you're seeing hundreds of millions of dollars being spent by teams that have guaranteed billion-plus local television revenue deals that they are barely sharing with the rest of Major League Baseball, okay? Completely different market than what the San Diego Padres have. But this franchise made a decision to hitch its wagon to a handful of players that comprise the core of this team. That core is in place through the 2020s. So, oh no, we don't have Soto. We do have Tatis. We have Fernando Tatis Jr. on a deal as long as Juan Soto's almost. for $340
Yeah, it's a bargain.
million for less than half of what Juan Soto's getting. And by the way, Soto's older than Tatis. Okay? So you get the heart of Tatis's, you get the entirety, essentially, of Tatis's career at a great deal. Now, a ridiculous bargain deal. Manny Machado would have made a lot more money if he could pop back in. Look, because
For sure.
Because he's a defensive player. Soto has no defensive value, virtually no defensive value. So we've got these players, and that means we are competitive year in and year out. We have a core to build around. Here's the thing, gang. Bogarts was our last big free agent for a really, 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 really long time. Maybe for the 2020s. Unless this team wants to completely reshape itself. And they have that opportunity over the course of the middle of the decade, right? Eventually, Hosmer's money comes off, a couple other contracts. But unless you move some guys, like you committed to Jake Cronenworth to 2030, for God's sake. Like, hope you like the team. Team's coming back. Hopefully competitive, resilient core.
Yeah.
But it's gonna
Hopefully improving even.
it's gonna be the $1 million guy off of Tommy John a year before, Jonathan Loaizaga. It's gonna be the Korean find that nobody else is scouting. It's gonna be the guy from the Japanese league that resurrected his career in the Mexican
Or
league.
farm system guys if they can keep them long enough.
Right. I mean, I literally just described Robert Suarez there. A guy in Japan that resurrected his career in Mexico that nobody had a look at, and then we brought him in, and he wound up being good. This is going to be the way that A.J. Preller builds his team. And if you get your dopamine hit directly from John Heyman and Jeff Passan, then you're going to think that the Padres stink. But I want you to just keep hitting replay on that one, Jeff Passan says Manny Machado is a Padre, or like Tatis re-signing. Because we've got this core. We've committed to this core. Unless the Padres are willing to, I don't know. I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't want to say recommit to spending at a higher level. We don't have Spectrum Sportsnet. We don't have the Yes Network. It's not coming. There's a new deal, collective bargaining deal in 2027. Until the rules change, L.A., Chicago, New York, these teams are going to they're going to get their payrolls to $300-400 million, and we're going to have to try and win inside it.
Yeah, although I will say, sitting here, and I know I'm talking as if it's so easy, which it's not. If you look at the markets and inflation is going up, just like inflation has gone up for all of us, where we live, what we do, then you can stand to think that their payroll should keep in line with that in some way, shape, or form. I saw a lot of people over the weekend. They are just talking heads, just like we are, saying, "Hey, any owner can do these things. Any owner can do this." And while there are restrictions on small markets, mid markets, large markets, it's just obviously harder for a smaller mid market. I don't ever want to sit here and say that they can't do more. You know what I mean? They need to come out and say that if that's the case, and say here's our restrictions, here's why we can't keep going higher, because you still are raising ticket prices, you still are raising certain things, and that goes with inflation for just like for all of us, right? But you kind of understand how it kind of has to go hand in hand. So I don't think they're by any means they're not done. It's not even I don't think. I know they're not done.
Not close to done.
Right, but if you sat down, a GM and put some truth serum in him and he was off the record, and I'm not saying this for Preller, I haven't talked to Preller in a long time, but anybody for any team, how many of them would say, I wish my owner would spend more, and maybe that's the case. We don't know, so I think you've got to look around and what is it going to be competitive in 2-3 years? What is that going to look like? I mean, are you just going to have to funnel a lot more money into your payroll just to even be competitive? The one thing about the Padres that I think, though, when I look back, is it wasn't money that caused them to lose in the playoffs. You know what I mean? They got where they got with the 15th highest payroll in Major League Baseball. That's not the worst. That's not the best. That's right there in the middle of the pack. So I'm not going to sit here and say they can't do that again. They did it this last year. Is it going to be harder because you don't have enough chips or this or that, or other teams have gone up in their payroll because they're spending more? Yes, all of that makes it more challenging. So in a few years, might someone come around and say, hey, or might the team be sold? I mean, there's so many things that could happen that we just don't know about that could affect things for years to come.
Well, 25-minute first segment, so not a clock integrity Monday.
I have some Juan Soto eye wash for you when we come back, just to let you all roll your eyes.
Okay, we're going to do that when we come back. We'll have to do a real quick segment when we come back. We are going to switch some things around because, for example, the college football playoff field was announced in like 41 states. That's what everyone's talking about this morning. Not baseball. They're like, can you believe the college football playoff field? Well, that means all the bowl fields were set as well. Our friend Mark Neville from the Holiday Bowl will join us at 10:35 to talk about their pairing and what's happening and what's coming to Snapdragon Stadium in December. And we've got lots more to come too. So let's take a quick time out and come on back with Andy and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, we got to pay the tax for our extremely long first segment. So, Annie, what Soto eyewash do you have for us?
Okay, my Soto eyewash, and I don't honestly know if this is how legit this is, but we'll go with it for now. Okay, it's via One Shining Mets, which seems like it's a blog, right?
One shining
One
Mets.
shining Mets.
They're saying that Steve Cohen found out that Juan Soto got pissed about the Yankees not allowing a family member and his driver in a certain clubhouse area. So Steve Cohen brought the Mets traveling secretary to explain family perks at their meeting. Now, I would normally never, this isn't report, this is, I think, a blog, so I would not usually, I don't know how valid or accurate it is, but it has gotten a lot of traction on social media, saying that the Mets have excellent intelligence. They were aware that Soto was upset about a Yankees security guy who didn't allow his chef and driver and family member in certain areas. And so Steve Cohen brought the traveling secretary, which would be TJ Lasita for the Padres, who does a wonderful job, to explain the logistics and family perks. Do you think it was that, guys, or do you think it was the $5 million?
The extra $5 million.
And they have potential to go to maybe $800 million.
$5 million.
Well,
I mean, if you're making that much money, what's
what's
an extra $5 anyway?
Well, I'm curious though, and I haven't read through every single thing in New York because really I don't need to. But I mean, did the Yankees not have the 5-year opt-out? Did the Yankees not have the poison pill escalator that the Mets agreed to? Because this is actually a 5-year contract where Soto can opt out.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, unless he either is not of a level where he believes he has raised his market value, or the Mets can pay an extra $5 million a year for the final 10 years of the deal.
It's not a team opt-out, right? It's a player
Correct.
No,
opt-out.
it's a player opt-out.
So, I mean,
Player
that
opt.
means the Mets will guarantee him every cent of that money, but Juan Soto can go test the market if he'd like.
Well, they have the override. They can pay him $50 million more to
stay.
kill the opt
Okay,
out.
to kill the
Make
opt-out.
sure he can't opt out.
Yeah, but then it becomes an $800-something million deal.
Yeah.
Because it's an extra $5 million.
Can they
a
do
year.
that at any time, or do they have to wait till 2029?
I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did it any time. Like, he could just go rake this year.
It's the
then they could
longest
just be like,
contract, too. Yeah, he can do
knock
it
it
anytime,
in.
right? 15 years, I mean, I agree. We were talking about it a little bit in the break, and it's any sport. It's not just baseball. Any sport, although baseball has the longest contracts. I'm not saying Juan Soto won't be motivated, but
It's fully
anyone who
guaranteed money.
gets fully guaranteed money and knows where they're going to be for the next 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it ends up being for him. And that's even for someone who maybe gets a 5-year contract or a 10-year contract. It's just human
Look at Anthony Rendon.
life to not. I'm not saying he won't try and he won't be his best, but there is a certain switch in your head that does change after you get that kind of a contract and money.
I mean, it's now
There's
life,
a reason
right?
they call it a prove it year. You know what I mean?
You've made it in life. It's
Yeah.
fully guaranteed. You don't have to do anything anymore. You've made you've done it. You can accomplish anything
Now,
you ever
he
want
might
to
have
accomplish.
his own internal goals and
Yeah, I mean, it's
things
just
he
He'll
wants
at
to
accomplish all
reach,
of
at
them.
that
course,
point.
yeah.
At that point, it's you're playing. It's pride, right? It's just your own pride. But if you just you could go down the path of trying to be like Derek Jeter or something like that, and like just want to be the best,
right,
Or
right.
you could be like Anthony Rendon, just be like, I'm just collecting a check.
I mean, long contracts always come with that risk.
Yeah, go ahead.
They just do.
Go ahead, cut me.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, you can do whatever you want. They have no say in what you do. You can just literally be like, I'm doing this, and if you don't like it, you can cut me and just pay me to go away.
Well, because now we're going to go to break and we're going to pay the bills so that we don't go away.
Yes.
And Mark Neville.
Mark needs to get on very quickly.
Mark
so.
needs to get on. So we'll take a timeout. We'll get back to, I'm sure, Soto. We've got Sam Levitt coming up at 12:20 live in the winter meetings. Plenty to come. But Mark Neville from the Holiday Bowl next on The Fan. 1040 on the Fan. Welcome back, everybody. Right back with you here, Annie and Elsten. Big winter meetings day, but also it is bowl season. It's college football playoff season as well. We're going to talk about all that this segment, starting with our friend Mark Neville joining us on the 97.3 The Fan hotline to shed light on the DirecTV Holiday Bowl, Syracuse versus Washington State. Mark, how are you this morning?
Doing fantastic. Thank you very much.
Well, it's our pleasure, my friend. And obviously, you must have been watching the conference championships with quite a keen eye, as it appears that two teams on your radar got plucked right off of it.
I was at one of those championship games. I was in Charlotte for the ACC championship, which was pretty thrilling, no doubt about it. But yeah, we went into the weekend having 8 teams on our radar screen, and with our game, we're known for these high scoring, down to the wire finishes through the years. In our 45-year history, we've had a lot of those types of games. We have one of those again. There's no doubt about it. We have 2 of the most prolific quarterbacks in the country coming to San Diego. Kyle McCord from Syracuse has the leading quarterback in terms of yards gained in the country. And then John Mateer from Washington State. He's also a Manning finalist for the best quarterback, and also has run for over 800 yards and 15 touchdowns. So the quarterbacks that we have in this game are amazing. Both teams score a lot of points. Syracuse, number 21 in the CFP ranking that came out yesterday, coming off of a win against number 6 Miami, basically knocking them out of the playoff and giving Clemson a chance to get in. This game is going to be a high-scoring one. When I was looking at it last night, it looked like we have projected to be the second highest-scoring bowl game of them all, and very typical DirecTV Holiday Bowl, and it's going to be a great night on December 27th.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. And this year it's at Snapdragon Stadium. So, Mark, what can people who are coming expect to see from there? Any changes with having it at Snapdragon this year?
We're going back home. We're going back to Mission Valley. We had a really good run at Petco Park for the last few years. Now we're back in the Valley, inside Snapdragon Stadium. It's an awesome venue. It's lining up to be really ideal for the bowl game. Fans can expect a lot of the same stuff that they've seen through the years. The pageantry that we have is really second to none. Our pregame show that honors our local military community. We'll have the flyover. We'll have skydivers. We'll have the giant American flag at pregame. The university marching bands, and then at halftime is always a great show. And then we have the monster fireworks show postgame that. You put all that together, it makes for an unbelievable experience. And being back in the Valley is going to be great. Gives us some opportunities that, especially on the fireworks side, where we can go a little bigger on the pyrotechnics.
That sounds amazing, Mark. And I know this whole entire month coming up for you, it's just going to continue to accelerate, right, day by day?
Yeah, I mean, in about 15 minutes, we're doing a virtual meeting with Washington State, and then we got another one an hour and a half later with Syracuse. They both will be in town tomorrow, Wednesday, and then leaving on Thursday for site visits. Check out their practice sites, check out their hotel, go look at the stadium, some of their events that they'll be having for their alums and fans. So it's a really busy time, but it's also so much fun. The organization, the group Sports San Diego, we're the group that organizes the DirecTV Holiday Bowl, and we have done it for 45 years now. It's all volunteer driven. These are all volunteers who work year round to put this game on, and they're super proud of it. You'll start seeing the red coats. In fact, I'm wearing a red coat today. You'll start seeing those around, and all those people who wear red coats are volunteers, and they love this organization. They love what it does for the city. We're a nonprofit. Our whole purpose is to drive tourism, and this time of year we use the DirecTV Holiday Bowl as that platform. And we would love it if we're going to have thousands of fans coming in to San Diego around Christmas time, and they're going to be coming to watch their Syracuse Orange and their Washington State Cougars. But we want San Diego to be there as well. We want to fill this stadium up. We're pretty close to a sellout right now. We want it to fill up, and we want the entire country to see a sold-out stadium and a great game and a great event, show what San Diego's all about on December 27th, 5 o'clock local, 8 o'clock Eastern. So millions of eyeballs will be on us.
Can't wait, Mark. Appreciate it, man. Know things are busy. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us and helping to kind of, spark things off, light the fuse, so to speak. Appreciate you, and best of luck, and keep that red coat clean.
Thank you. You guys are the best. And everyone, go to holidaybowl.com. The tickets are right there.
holidaybowl.com. Sounds good. All right. Mark Neville,
Thanks,
CEO,
Mark.
Sports San Diego. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day. There he goes. Gives
Very
us
busy man.
Yes.
During a very busy time.
No kidding. No kidding.
Good to continue the tradition of the Holiday Bowl and to bring all that tourism really to San Diego as well. And that's what they're trying to do over there is, we hear it every time there's a big event here or a big game here. Even when the winter meetings were here, how many people say they wish it was in San Diego every year?
Yeah.
They wish certain things were in San Diego every year because everybody loves coming here. So, good to get the eyes of the rest of the country or whatever they're doing internationally on San Diego with what they bring into the city.
With that, we can transition very briefly and not necessarily super briefly, but for the rest of the segment to talk about the college football playoff. We'll get back to baseball throughout the 11 a.m. hour, and then we've got Sammy coming up at 12:20 live from Dallas and the winter meetings as well. But certainly I was watching through, Friday night was Boise State. They took care of business against UNLV, cold night. Genty ran for 170-something.
Doink out of the field goal.
Yep.
As opposed to
There was
doink in
a
last night.
Right?
Thankfully, doink in. So happy that doinked
was
in.
like,
I don't know why you were holding your breath. We've seen that episode
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was listening to Braden yesterday as the selections came out.
Yeah, we had a kind of a live
so-
reaction selection show. It was
Fun.
kind of fun. Yeah, it was great.
So what we wind up with in the end, because of a couple of key upsets, right? Particularly Clemson, right? They just launched their way in, thought it was going to be at the expense of SMU. But as it turns out, SMU got the spot that Alabama previously had.
And they should have. And they deserve to be in there. Again, the committee's going to say, they're not going to punish teams for playing in the college football, in a conference championship game, which is funny because then they backtracked and yesterday said, well, we're not going to punish anybody unless you lose. Okay, well, that would be punishing somebody for playing in the conference championship game,
Yeah.
you fools.
Yeah.
So
is the system working the way they intended? Is this?
I think it is.
Okay.
It is to a point of really emphasizing winning your conference.
Yeah.
The only people that are upset right now are the schools that weren't good enough to be in the top half of the SEC that think that the SEC is the best 12 teams every year and they should just be in the tournament. But if you look at it, and Alabama, I laugh at Alabama's AD, and he was the athletic director at Arizona when I was a student at Arizona, and he was like, we're not going to play good teams now in non-conference because, it's and I'm sitting there looking at it, you already don't play good teams in
Correct.
non-conference.
Yeah. Oh,
You
what
already
a threat.
you already don't do that. And it's like he wanted to make it sound like he's playing all these tough teams and strength of schedule hurt him. No, you lost to Oklahoma, who barely went 6-6 this season. You lost
Vanderbilt,
to
right?
Vanderbilt
Yeah.
on the road. These are teams that you have to play. These are not your non-conference games. Your non-conference games were against Western Kentucky, and you played Mercer the second to last week of the year. It's just you don't have anybody on your schedule that is keeping you from making this tournament. And for the SEC people, is kind of an eye-opener for them. It's like, look, man, there's good football teams everywhere else. You can't just hide in your little bubble and just say, well, we're the best, and when you don't play anybody. Which I thought was funny out of Kirby Smart when he won the SEC championship game. He took a shot at the commissioner saying, it's BS, all these road games we had to play. Kirby, you played 8 games in the state of Georgia. What are you talking about? When you played Clemson, where'd you play them? Atlanta. Oh, wow, big road game for you, buddy. Driving over to Atlanta to play Clemson. It's not like he has to go to Oregon and play, right? All these home games, we had to play at Texas. We had to play at whatever. I'm like, those are games that you have to play. You have to play at least 4 road games. So everybody that was up in arms usually came from the SEC, and it's kind of inflated on their own. In a world where Arizona State and Boise State have a bye, are they better than some of the teams that are going to play in? Probably not.
Probably not.
But at the same time, it's like you have to put some type of emphasis on conference championships for these other conferences. Otherwise, you're just doing a SEC invitational with no real accountability. Hey, look, you didn't have to join those conferences. You took the check. It's probably a lot easier to win a conference in the ones that you were previously in, right? But instead, here you go.
Oregon absolutely deserves to be the number 1 seed.
There was no argument with that.
Right? Georgia absolutely deserves to be the number 2 seed. However, let's see what happens with their quarterback, right? Has there been any further discussion?
I saw something that he wasn't going to play in the Sugar Bowl, but I'm sure we'll have some instances. But again, that was the other thing. Florida State couldn't make the playoff because their quarterback was out, and then Georgia loses their quarterback. If they would have lost the way they knocked him out, well, they're not the same team.
Yeah.
I mean, Arizona State got the 4 seed. They probably should have got the 3. They're better than Boise. And one of their losses out of their 2, they're missing their quarterback. So how are we evaluating? Too much like talking out of both sides of their mouth. That's what I don't like about this process. I'd rather just have everything be automatic qualifiers.
And you're never going to please everyone. I mean,
No,
someone's always going to
like-
complain
like-
about something, right?
Ole Miss is upset. Ole Miss lost to 1-something Kentucky in the SEC. And he's like, don't lose to the worst team in your conference. Right? I mean, you
Take
can
care
make
of business.
Right, and that's the thing. And I don't think this was as controversial as previous years because everybody had a chance to make it if they win their conference. 5 conference winners are in. And the other thing is, like, you look at the teams that didn't make it. Alabama went 9-3. Don't lose to bad teams in your conference. Ole Miss went 9-3. They lost to bad teams in their conference. South Carolina, complained that they're one of the best teams. You lost to Alabama and Ole Miss. I mean, so you're already behind those 2 schools, and they weren't even in the SEC championship game. I mean, Miami 10-2. You know what? You should have beat Syracuse the last week. There's enough where you can see as a fan, if that was my school, TCU, who's been hosed a couple of times in this thing, be like, look, man, we can't lose 3 games and expect to be in this thing.
Meanwhile, just taking a look at the matchups themselves, looks like we've got one great matchup.
I
in
think
the
they
opening
screwed
round.
this part up.
Ohio State, Tennessee. That should be a really good game.
That's going to be good. I like the Notre Dame, Indiana
I think
matchup.
Notre Dame's going to win easy.
I know, but it's the state of Indiana. I mean, they call
that's
it
true.
the Catholics versus the cigarettes is what some of the T-shirts were saying.
That's funny.
But I don't know why. Like, to me, Clemson beat SMU in the championship. Why don't you flip-flop those teams? Like, I don't know. Why is Clemson the 12? Are we afraid, Texas, to deal with a smaller school in the state of Texas rolling in there, right? I mean, I thought that was kind of a favor for the Longhorns to get Clemson instead of SMU, right? And then it's like, because Clemson, Penn State, I think would be a lot better of a matchup, and SMU, Texas would be great for the storylines.
Yeah.
And Clemson beat SMU in the championship head-to-head. If you're going to keep SMU in, why didn't you have them just be the 12 seed? That to me doesn't make any sense. And then the Arizona State not being ranked above Boise was the other thing that didn't make any sense.
Then I really do look to the Georgia quarterback situation, because otherwise I feel like every one of the bye teams has a real weakness. I mean, Oregon, obviously, they're the number 1 seed. They're strong. They've been battle tested. But
Right.
dang, they gave up a ton of points to Penn State on Saturday night. I was stunned how close that game stayed over the course of it.
Well, and for winning, they got a more difficult path than Penn State did, right? Like Penn State's
Here's your
got
reward.
like SMU is they're really good, but like Clemson really beat them up, right? And then if they win, they play Boise State. Like I would rather play SMU and Boise State to get to the Orange Bowl than have to deal with either a rematch against Ohio State or Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then if you win that, then you got to probably play Texas. Maybe it's Arizona State, but probably got to play Texas. I mean, your path to the championship is way more difficult, than Penn State is, right? So those are some of the things. I know a lot of people are upset about the conference champions getting automatic buys. I don't really mind it. You should get a reward for winning your conference championship.
Yeah.
I don't mind a reseed though, like they used to do in the NFL. I don't know if they still do in the NFL.
No, they
so
don't,
like
but
if
yeah.
Clemson won, they'd play Oregon, right?
Right.
I think that would be a little bit more beneficial. Right, so if Oregon, gets stuck playing Ohio State, and then you got a bunch of upsets everywhere else.
Oh
it's
man,
like,
I
how do
couldn't
we
agree
get
with
the
that
one?
more. I completely agree with that. They should
To reseed?
totally,
Yeah.
yes, reseed and allow those top 4 seeds to have real value.
Right, exactly.
You know?
It makes it more interesting.
I mean, they get the whole. And the other thing too, this is what I didn't like about the Arizona State move, and where the timer's about to hit. Arizona State, if they were the 3 seed, would be in the Fiesta Bowl, which is down the street.
Right.
And it's almost like they didn't want to have Penn
I bet you
State
that's
or a
exactly
big
what they
brand
did.
have to play a road game, and so they sent kicked Arizona State's ass to the Peach Bowl, and Boise State's now at the Fiesta Bowl. I thought that was the biggest telling thing of like, well, let's make sure the paths are easy for a big brand still.
Yeah. Well, and also
Ratings,
they just wanted to
ratings.
get away from that.
That's right.
All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, right back on the baseball tip, including new signings in the last few minutes from the winter meetings. It's 11 o'clock on the Fan. Annie and Elsten with you for hour number 2 of our sojourn. Coming to you live on FM radio 97.3 FM. Great to be here. Coming to you on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Free to download, free to operate. Free to leave a voice message. You can press the little button right next to Listen Live that says leave a voice message and say your piece.
Let us know. Let us know what you think about the winter meetings, Soto,
Yeah.
college football, the championships. We also have a robust chat going on, which I always appreciate.
Which part?
Just the entertainment of it all.
It's gotten better since it was earlier. Earlier it was getting out of hand.
It was
Oh,
horrible.
maybe I missed that.
30 minutes ago, it was
I don't
awful.
know. Just people
awful.
being here and interacting. It's fun.
Well,
So,
we're on the YouTube. We're on the old YouTuber over there, that 97.3 The Fan page on YouTube, where all of our content, not just our show, but Ben and Woods, Gwen and Chris, trips inside Scrabistan are actually allowed on YouTube. Sammy's show, which will be live tomorrow from Dallas from 7 to 9. All of those shows live on YouTube. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Even if we don't take your particular chosen strain of discussion and put it on the show, I let y'all know that your extremely online talk would stay exactly there.
Send us a voice message.
some stuff works better in the chat than it does anywhere else.
Yeah, literally anywhere else, indeed.
But I still appreciate everyone interacting and being around and,
Yeah.
Well,
it's great to be here. Absolutely great to be here. Now, again, as we talked about in the first hour, I don't know the next time the winter meetings are going to bring great joy to the San Diego Padres. I don't really know. When was the last time the winter meetings brought great joy to the Padres?
was it the Aaron Judge, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts
Yeah, the mania.
Yeah.
mania, I
yeah.
guess?
But what was the end prize?
I think that was also after the winter
Overpaid
meetings.
Yeah.
contract.
Maybe.
That
It was the night of the last day of the winter meetings because the next day I was flying to, I think it was Boston. I was flying to Boston for the Army Navy game. Or
There you
somewhere
go.
else.
There you go.
Yes. Philadelphia, maybe.
Right, Philly, right. It's the Soto trade happened last year. That wound up being, think about this, okay? So if you missed it, because it did happen last night, maybe you're just tuning in, maybe you didn't check anything. It's all good. Juan Soto signed with the Mets.
For a lot of money.
15 years, $765 million.
Guaranteed.
$75 million signing bonus. Zero
taxes on that.
deferrals. Zero deferrals. And an opt-out after 5 years, just for good measure, unless the Mets want to trigger an escalator that pays him an extra $5 million a year for the final 10 years of the deal. So an incredible, insane, gargantuan, bloated overpay of a deal. Honestly, for a player that is extremely good at the things he does well. He is a power hitter who's going to hit well over 600 homers over the course of his career, maybe 700. Who knows? Maybe 800 homers. I don't know. He's great. He's going to obliterate Barry Bonds' all-time walk record. He's going to obliterate it. He'll probably walk 2,500 times in his career. When all is said and done, Juan Soto will be by far the most walks in big league history. He'll have scored probably over 1,500 runs, driven in over 1,500 runs, hit over 600 homers. He'll have one of the highest on-base percentages in the history of big league baseball. All of this you can just absolutely guarantee. He is that player. The things he does well, he does well. And honestly, Annie, he's going to spend 9 to 12 years of that 15-year contract as the Mets' designated hitter.
I mean, we'll see, right? I mean, it seems likely or seems like that's plausible for sure that's how it goes. They'll move him from the outfield to make him the DH. It's hard to say like what the end result of this contract is going to be, and obviously until he plays it, right? He plays it through. And how old will we all be by the time this contract ends? We're all going to be pretty old, right?
Speak for yourself.
But I think that they thank you, Braden, for that reminder. Thank you for that reminder.
You'll be a middle-aged
How
man,
young you
Mr.
are.
Sofrenin.
No, I'm already
I'm
a middle-aged
23,
man.
so
That's right.
You're the
Yeah.
oldest 28-year-old I know, or
That's
29-year-old
right.
I know.
I'm almost
But
30. Holy cow.
I think he still has in him the desire to be a good baseball player, a great baseball player. He has more to prove. Is he going to be the deciding piece for the Mets? Is he going to? No, I think that the Mets still need to address other holes in their roster. I don't think that he's going to be the one player who gets them over the edge. But is he going to benefit this team, this Mets team, and help them to get to the playoffs and maybe deep inside the playoffs to the World Series? Sure, absolutely. I mean, Juan Soto is an asset on your team. It's crazy money that we can't even fathom spending. But if Steve Cohen can do it, and he can still build around him, there's really nothing wrong with it per se. It's just money that is just so unbelievable to all of us.
It is.
And does anything ever top that? I mean,
sure, something will top it.
Eventually.
At some point, something will top it.
When are you going to... Here's my question, though. I think it's interesting. We see this a lot in the NFL, and maybe there's something in the CBA where they're not allowed to do it. But at what point are guys that are locked into contracts... And again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know. At what point are guys that are currently making money in contracts start holding out to redo their deal? They're like, I'm not playing.
Do we ever see that? Do we ever see that in baseball?
You don't. That's what I'm saying. You don't see it in
That's
baseball
interesting.
because the contracts are guaranteed. But in
Right.
football, they're not, right? And so guys hold out all the time. But now it's like, I mean, if you look at Ronald Acuna Jr., he's making $17 million next year.
Yeah, I know.
He can't
Right.
wait to get to his walk year, which
Right,
is
but
when,
it's,
though.
it's going to be a
Right.
long time,
Yeah.
right? So he signed this long, and he could make way more money. Like, does he go to Atlanta and just be like, I'm not playing? Like, what are you going to...
Fernando's contract looks insanely
same
good
thing.
right now. But then if you look at Fernando, you might go, well, could he... I mean, his valuation would be way higher, but he also had the suspension and he had the injuries. And so I understand maybe what he
But if he
took
hit
it
the
for
open
at the
market
time.
tomorrow,
Sure,
he'd be getting at least
Yes.
$400 million at the low end on a
Right.
new
Yeah.
deal. I mean, he'd be making... you could make the argument that he might be worth more because of the fact that he could play defense and he's dynamic on the bases and he can hit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'll put it this way: if Fernando had an MVP season next year, this would be written about.
Right.
You know, it would
the
be a discussion
contract
topic.
is so low
Yeah,
compared
right.
to what his contemporaries get.
However, please keep this in mind. At age 21, Fernando Tatis Jr. was given lifetime statue deal, 100% guaranteed all the way through his age 35 season. He isn't locked till he's 41, like Soto and Bogarts and Machado. He does have still, if he really wanted, a third act potential of his career, from age 35 and beyond. But the Padres took on all the risk, and then Fernando immediately showed the downside of the risk
Right.
by missing an entire Major League Baseball season, literally the year after he signed the deal. So, when contracts are signed at a time, there's a give and a take, and there's a risk and a reward for both sides. And when Nando signed that deal, the risk he took was his deal becoming eclipsed it was almost a guarantee. In fact, I would say his agent said to him in clear, plain language to his face, your deal will be eclipsed before it even gets to the halfway point.
It was a huge contract at the time. You're absolutely right. And an outlier of a contract and big for its moment. So much of it is timing of the market, timing of like the world, right? But also how many other free agents are on the market at the same time as you are that are in that position? What's the need? What's the supply and demand? For Juan Soto, it didn't matter, right? He's in a league of its own, same with Shohei Ohtani. But yeah, a lot of it is the timing of the market and like where's the world at? Where's the baseball world at? I mean, we all thought, and it's still true, we hear about the TV money all the time. But for a team like the Mets, it doesn't really matter, right? A team like the Yankees, you wonder though, and I'm going to relate it back to the Padres here. So if you're Jackson Merrill, are you looking at this and are you looking at it more from the side of Fernando Tatis Jr.? Or are you looking at it more from the side of what you just said? Why would I sign now when I can bank on things being so different in a year or two even?
Hey, you know what?
Because he can roll his ankle tomorrow and
That's
not be
true.
the same player.
100%.
I mean, that's.
But so could have Juan Soto could have ended after $440 million was offered to him by the Nationals. He could have sucked the rest of the time, the rest of the years, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like all the Braves deals, right? Is they got him super young, they give him an offer they couldn't refuse. A number of like, I can't pass up this kind of money. And again, it's different. It's person to person of
yeah, for sure.
where they came from,
Where
what
they
their
wanna
upbringing
be.
is like. What the like how much they need that money to for their family and everything
Their
like that.
agents even.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you're Acuna, like let's say Acuna held out, and he's had multiple injuries. Maybe he could have not made as much money if he signed after one of those injury years, right? He just won an MVP, so not too long ago. So obviously he'd probably be making a little bit more right now, but that's guaranteed money up front. Instead of a hypothetical, you could get this, or what if you bet on yourself and you lose, and then you're really kicking yourself? Yeah, especially a first contract.
If you've already
100%.
had a long-term contract and this is your second or third.
I would just say that the Soto deal makes the very idea of a Jackson Merrill contract extension completely impossible. And you might as well just go ahead and kick that rock on past 2026 when there's a new collective bargaining agreement and there's new rules, and probably when we lose a year or half of a year of Jackson Merrill's prime of his career because this sport shuts down.
See, I would say that, or he does it. Would he do it out of fear of what that could look like, the new CBA? You know what I mean? Like maybe he doesn't right before. Maybe it's
maybe they
in
put
year
in
two after his price has gone up and they've got to pay. I don't know though.
Maybe they put in max contracts like the NBA. Maybe they put in a salary cap, salary floor, right? Where all of a sudden teams aren't going to be able. There's not going to be a lot of teams that can afford that contract unless it's a very lousy team, right?
Like some players might fear that.
Yeah.
Right, because you don't know what's coming down that end either. So.
Maybe they changed the revenue sharing rules in order to facilitate the nationalization of local television rights. And they'd make some sort of obscene concession to L.A. and New York that gets them inside, the bundle, and it completely reshapes the sport. Because honestly, all we're going to be seeing the rest of this month is we're going to see these incredibly rich teams that are inured with guaranteed television money throw their money around, and then we're going to see the Rosenthals and Haymans write think pieces criticizing the teams that didn't do that and completely eliding the fact that they have this giant treasure trough that's just pouring money into them from the back while we're out here selling Post Malone floor tickets, trying to recoup whatever we can.
Well, and there's a lot of owners, right, that we've talked about that don't spend any type of money. But even like let's just take, and I don't want to give the A's the benefit of the doubt because their owner obviously does not spend any money. But even if they did spend money, they still can't compete with the top level of Major League Baseball. And it's going to get to a point where a lot of these ownerships and these teams are going to be like, look, even if, because here's the narrative from all those think pieces, anybody can do this. Well, no, not everybody can do this. I mean, the Mets did not just give a bunch of deferred money and a signing bonus up front and all of these little finagles to make it work with the salary like the Dodgers did. So not everybody could do this. But you start looking at, Padres are in the middle. You start looking at some of those other teams. They have zero. They cannot even come close to competing with this at any type of level. And so it's like, at some point, they're going to be like, this is not even the same league. We're not even in the same league as these guys right now.
I think it's also what you were talking about earlier, because absolutely, Brandon, and I don't know what that tipping point is, or if there are teams that are going to know that, but if they're still profiting, right? If they're still profiting and they're able to continue to keep the business flowing, right? They stay in the profitable side of it. And maybe you hope for a year that you hit on some magic, right? Or you hope for a year like the Guardians where you hit on, or the Tigers, or, you're hitting on it, you're getting into the playoffs. The thing about it is what you were talking about earlier, Craig, which is the rest of the National League West is improving, except for maybe the Rockies. Now, we did say, I will say, we did say this last year. We thought the National League West was going to be the most amazing thing in the world, and it was at the very end. It wasn't for the first half of the season. But the fact is, I don't know that Willy Adames changes things all that much for the Giants, but they did go out and get what should be an upgrade to their roster.
Absolutely. And by the way, it's not Ha-Seong Kim, which is interesting as a side note.
And you wonder if Ha-Seong Kim, if Ha-Seong Kim is going to find a market. Would the Padres bring him back?
Nope.
I think he will too.
No chance. I hate to be this way. And I really want to make clear when I say this, I'm not saying the Padres are going to be bad next year. I think they can be a playoff team.
They can still be competitive, absolutely.
I think they can be a winning team.
The guys they have locked in for the next X amount of years are going to make them competitive.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're not going to. It's not going to be the mid-2000s Padres for a long time.
Right.
But gang, the free agent market is cuckoo, crazy, go nuts, loco, bananas. All right? Players are being dramatically, ridiculously paid over their talent level. And deals are coming to fruition that are going to look really ugly down the road.
Silly even.
Yes. ugly and silly. Severino, $23 million a year. Severino's was okay for 1 year. He could break down in 2 months next year. We could go down the list. We could go down the list. We will go down the list. Like, we'll literally go down the list, okay? There's a lot of cuckoo, crazy, go nuts deals out there. The Padres locked in their deals 2-3 years ago where the market was then. The deals they have locked in with the escalators and raises they've put in preclude San Diego from participating in the free agent market going forward. Anywhere near the top, anywhere near the middle, anywhere but the bottom, okay? So Kim, gone. Profar, gone. Scott, gone. They're all gone.
I do think that one thing that I think you were just talking about, Braden, which I think maybe might force owners to spend more, is what you were just talking about. If the parity becomes so large that owners can maybe no longer say, hey, we're doing everything we can. We're as competitive as we can. We're putting all the money we can into the payroll. We don't really know if that's true. We don't see their books. We don't really know what's going on. There might come a tipping point where owners eventually have to put more money into their actual team, pay players more, just to keep, in the stratosphere of looking like they're competitive.
Well, they just have to do it enough to get people to go to games.
That's right. Well, but maybe that number might have to go up.
If you continue, I know exactly. Yeah. But if you continue to go to games, they don't have to spend money. If you don't go to games, like for the Rockies, the Rockies aren't doing anything. They haven't done anything in years.
And
people go to their games. They go to their games all the time. They don't really care. They're still going to go. And if you are Dick Monfort, why would you change anything? Because, again, when you run
it gets to a point where that gets hit, I guess.
When it affects your bottom line as a business, right? I mean, there's a difference. Like Cohen is not running this team like a business because he's made his money. This is his toy.
Right.
This is not feeding his family and generations worth of Cohen family.
Ultimately, you do want owners putting money back into their.
I know, but the thing is, though, it's like if I'm running a business, and my business is getting people to go to games, and they're continuing to go to games, right? Why would I continue to spend more money when I can just keep collecting the cash? It's the same thing with keeping your employee salaries to a minimum. Like, I'm not going to bring in all these extra people that I don't need if I have this huge profit line, right? Now, if that starts to dwindle a little bit and I got to find an incentive, or it's not really employees, it's ingredients. The ingredients of and menu items of your players, right? That's what attracts people, like at a restaurant. Am I going to carry all these menu items that aren't driving tickets, right? Am I going to add all these extra menu items when I'm making so much good money on my traditional burger I got here? And then all of a sudden the market changes and people don't want burgers. Maybe they want a salad. Well, then I'm losing patrons. Well, I got to add the salad to the group because now I got to try to attract more people to come to the game. But until you stop getting people to like what your current product is, you're going to keep doing things the same way because you're making tons of money. Why would I need to spend more in that particular case?
Well, I mean, I think it's a good point, although the whole restaurant thing, I got confused and then hungry. So I'm now thinking about salad for lunch, and that seems like an okay choice because I did have a burger for dinner last night. But
I will say, too, it turns out that it was good that Preller traded Juan Soto. You were never going to sign him.
It was
He
great.
was never going to sign him. Right?
Ever.
You needed to trade him and get what you got.
And you know what? Yeah. This year, last time, there were a lot of folks, whether they were callers or chat bros or online, whatever, saying you cannot trade Juan Soto. You have to sign Juan Soto. You can't make that deal and trade Mackenzie Gore and Robert Hassel and James Wood and not re-sign Juan Soto. Guys, never. Oh, by the way, I meant to say this too. Bleep you, Boris, for that ridiculous story he had that was an obvious lie. In retrospect, an obvious lie. The story he had about, we went way down the road on a Juan Soto contract extension here. And then poor Peter Seidler died. And if he hadn't died, we were weeks away. Yeah. We were weeks away from a contract. Are you kidding me? You absolute liar. You vile liar. And I understand you've had a great day. So none of this is bouncing. Right, this is bouncing off of you like a bullet off titanium.
Yeah,
I get it. I get it. Fine. That's fine. That's fine. You are a vile, sickening liar when you took Peter Seidler's name and put it in your mouth as an attempt to somehow escalate this market, because there was never a $765 million deal on the table in San Diego for Juan Soto. And if you're telling me that Scott Boras was going to happily sign off on something $250 million less than that a year ago, you're full of it. You're absolutely full of it. You're full of it, Boris. I hated when you said that. I'm never going to forgive you for that. Never.
Well, to defend some of the people about the Juan Soto trade, yes, in a vacuum, I kind of agree with them. You don't trade all these pieces for a guy like Juan Soto and then let him go and then sign, but also sign Xander Bogaerts. That is just it's very much malpractice.
Yeah.
But for the situation that they painted themselves into, they had to do it. But to sign a
They would have kept him if they could have.
But what I'm saying is signing a 30-something-year-old shortstop that they didn't need after they traded for Juan Soto, affecting their ability to re-sign Juan Soto, is a catastrophic problem.
It is, but
that's what the problem
that
is.
being said, $27.8 million is what, or 280 total is what, a third, essentially? I mean, a little more than a third of what Soto got. So, we needed to have signed 3 Bogarts to have truly, spent ourselves out. We were never going to sign Juan Soto. It was literally never, ever, ever going to happen. And so trading him was perfect. And that's why we have to trade Dylan Cease.
And Luis Ariz.
Because we're never signing we could sign
and
Luis
Robert
Ariz.
Suarez. You have to trade
but now
all 3 of those players.
What do you do with you still need rotation pieces.
Find them. We can't play.
Yeah,
Hang on. We'll
You
go to
spent
break.
the money already.
We got to go to break. Roki Sasaki got posted today.
I have a question about this.
All right.
You can't sign
We'll do it
till-
after the
We'll
break.
answer it after
Yeah,
the break.
yeah.
But that's your whole That's your whole off season. Is Roki Sasaki. We either get him and it's a great off season, or we don't get him and it's a miserable off season.
That leads right into my question after the break.
Perfect. Which we'll take right now. Bye-bye. Baseball coverage on 97.3. The Fan is brought to you by your friends at T-Mobile. Check them out and get a brand new iPhone 16 Pro. Andy and Elsten back
Should
here.
I point
with
my
you.
camera at Craig too?
Are we all me?
Three Craigs at all three different angles.
Don't do it. I mean, that's exciting. It's kind of like the Woodstock movie. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Just coming at you from
Cut the
different
shots.
ways. Oh, well, so much to process through the winter meetings. Let's roll through some of the other stuff that's happened, because a lot of stuff has happened, and Andy's got the full list at 12 o'clock. But we mentioned Roki Sasaki, and I want to pay off the tease. You had a question.
My question is this, and I don't know the answer. I don't know that we're going to find out the answer from AJ Preller, but if you're putting your eggs in the Roki Sasaki basket, which I would not put all my eggs in the Roki Sasaki basket, by the way. I think he's still going to have some growing and acclimating to do to MLB, but he is for sure a complete Christmas present for whoever holiday present for whichever team gets him. So 100%. But do you, if you're AJ Preller, because he's not going to sign most likely or announce until January 15th.
Correct.
When that new money comes in for
Correct.
the 2025 period.
He literally, by the way, just to put a button on that,
Yeah.
he literally can't. He could either, because he's posted now, he could either sign in the next 6 days on the old market where only
On
the
the
Dodgers could give him
2024
$2 million.
yes.
But from December 15th to January 15th, it's a lockout for international signings.
There you
There will
go.
be no signings.
Yeah.
So all you're going to hear, and my God, I mean, we're probably going to get 55 texts from the boss of like, this talking head said Dodgers or Padres Sasaki. This talking head said Dodgers, Padres, and maybe a mystery team. Blah, 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 blah. There's nothing to it until it actually happens.
Yeah, and it won't. Like, I agree with you. I don't think he's signing in the next 6 days unless he's willing to take that $2 million from the Dodgers, and that's it, and it's over. My guess is, like many of us assume, he's going to sign when the new period opens, January 15th.
Right.
So if you're AJ Preller, if you don't know that you've got him, okay, I guess it's different if he does a gentleman's handshake and he says, "I'm yours."
Right. Right.
How do you make moves? Like, how do you know it? Am I trying to trade Dylan Cease right now? Or am I trying to wait and see if we get Roki Sasaki? Are you waiting? I don't think you can afford to wait unless the rest of baseball waits as well for what happens with Roki Sasaki.
It's a great question, Annie.
I don't think there's an answer necessarily.
Well,
but
here's the thing. I think Sasaki, well, I don't think, I know, a 45-day window opened today. So you can figure it out, right? I mean, like 36 of those days are going to be non-signing days, right?
Right.
Because he's going to voluntarily not sign in the next 5 days, and then he's going to have 30 days dark. So it's a 9-day period in which he's actually going to be able to sign from the 15th to the 23rd, 24th.
Yes.
So from the 15th to the 24th is going to be when he's going to have the chance to sign. So on that level, we at least know, and it's not that far away.
the end of January.
Yeah, by the middle of
Spring
January.
training starts 2 weeks later. Although we saw AJ Preller and many others, they make deals well into spring training. That's
Right.
not necessarily a bad thing.
I think of the Sasaki pursuit as its own unique channel for the year. You've got the international signing money. The money really doesn't probably matter. Is it $5 million? Is it $6 million? That's not going to be what changes Sasaki's determination. It doesn't hurt, right? I mean, some team that has no money is going to be out, but he's getting recruited. This is a recruiting process, college style, right? It's Yu Darvish coming over. I don't know. Does AJ spend a month in a hotel in Japan?
Yes. But what I wonder is, where does that leave the rest of your rotation?
Yeah.
Do you make the moves? Do you hope for him? I don't think you can use hope as a strategy here. Do you
Hopium
not,
only works so
right,
so much.
Do you not move Dylan Cease if you feel like you need to move him? Will it be too late by the time I don't think it'll be too late for what it's worth. But I'm just saying, like, when you look at your rotation, if you're considering him to be a big part of your 2025 plans, can you afford to do that and not make other moves? And then what happens if you don't get him? Or are you making moves and then he's just sort of the cherry on the top, you know?
I'll speak specifically to my thing, the trade of Cease. You do wait on that. You wait on that for two reasons.
And I don't even know that they're going to trade Dylan
No,
Cease,
I
by the
don't.
way.
I'm advocating that they should.
For example's sake of how you formulate this rotation.
Correct. The reason I'm advocating that they should
That's
is not that I dislike Dylan Cease as a pitcher in any way. If he's here next year, I'll be very happy for the 180 innings, for the 200 plus strikeouts, for the ERA under 4. Like, I'm going to be very happy for that. I'm going to hope and pray he doesn't get hurt, because he still hasn't had a major arm injury in his career. And I always feel like for power guys like that, it's just there's a timer and you just don't know when the timer's going to go off. But with all of that said, until the market settles, there's not the perfect storm of urgency that's going to create the market for Dylan Cease. You need Burns to sign. You need Fried to sign. You need the other big options that someone could just spend on to sign. And then when those things settle, and then Jack Flaherty signs and Walker Buehler signs, like when those guys all sign, and then there's 4 or 5 teams that didn't get the guy,
And need a starting pitcher.
that's when you come in.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep looking at Baltimore square in the eyes, because I just feel like the Orioles are going to get outbid on, I think they're going to be in on all of those guys. I think they're going to get outbid on all of those guys because they're a little bit hesitant as an organization. And I think at some point at the end of January, then they're going to look and go, we don't have an ace. Our fans are going crazy. We've got the best farm system in baseball. It's time to make a move, and it's time to bring in a guy. And at that point, now we either have Sasaki or we don't have Sasaki. And it completely changes the way you get to attack the market. So that's how I see that. As Michael just said, you wait till Burns is signed. You just
some dominoes start falling. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
then
let
have
that
some
all sort.
leverage, right?
Meanwhile, L.A. signaled they weren't going to sign Soto when they signed Michael Conforto to a 1-year, $17 million deal. They re-signed Blake Trinan. All good times. Mets signed Clay Holmes. They're going to turn him into a starter. Okay, that's cool. Today, the Phillies signed Jordan Romano, who had been non-tendered by the Blue Jays. So the Phillies are looking at Romano as their closer, and they've locked him in on a deal. And I think yesterday the Orioles signed Tyler O'Neill. Yesterday the Orioles signed Gary Sanchez. 1 year, $8.5 million, by the way. So, again, you want to know where that backup catcher market is.
Yeah.
It's $6.5 to $8.5 million.
And I think that was kind of what I took away from the weekend, too, when you saw Michael Conforto for $17 million, right, for the Dodgers for 1 year. And then who was the other outfielder that I'm thinking of right now that
O'Neill? No, you just said
maybe
O'Neill.
it was a high number. Conforto, O'Neill, right?
Tyler, 3 years, $50 million.
Yeah.
I mean, decent deal.
Right, decent deal, right. So that's what kind of makes you think that the numbers for the outfielders, I mean, where would you rank those guys among Jerks and Profar?
I'd say if Tyler O'Neill, who has more power than Jurickson, I think he's right in that number range.
I think he's right in that number, too.
I think he's right around that. 3 years, 49.5. I could see it being a little less for Jurickson.
Yeah, same. But somewhere around there, unless teams just are hesitant to take that kind of flyer. But I do think it's going to be somewhere in that world, right? And we did see Dennis and Kevin AC writing, Dennis Lynn also writing that Padres are still optimistic about a reunion with Profar. I don't know that I take that as it's going to happen. I think they very well are hopeful, but I don't know that the numbers are going to match up there unless they work out some really creative deal, which I don't put past the two sides of doing. But at the same time, I mean, Jurickson's got to be looking at these numbers and at least thinking like, it sounds like that from the reports that we've been seeing that there's been interest in him from other teams.
Jurickson's in a good spot. We're going to say goodbye to all these guys. And listen, I'll hold up my hand and I'll say I'll happily, you'll hear me be like, I was wrong. Thank goodness I was wrong. I didn't think they'd ever. But I personally don't think we're signing or even approaching any of these guys. I think we're talking to Profar like, hey, please. But every time that the phone is hung up, AJ and Josh look at each other and go like, dude, we need it to the board to come out perfect and have everything go exactly wrong for Jurickson on the market. And if everything bedevils Jurickson on the market, then we might get the last chance to get him in. But otherwise, forget about it. He's gone. I saw Detroit's interested in Ha-Sung Kim. There's going to be 6 teams interested. Toronto, I was reading a Toronto story. They're like, well, Ha-Sung Kim could be a great addition to them on the infield.
They lost out on Juan Soto again. They lost out on Shohei Ohtani.
So they're all gone, guys. They're all gone. They're all going to be gone. There's a reason when you trade for somebody who's an impending free agent. That day that we made all the trades at the deadline, I'm like, holy cow, man, we traded all this stuff. And other than Jason Adam, and Brian Hoeing, it's all gone at the end of the year. And I still don't think we've even properly come to terms with how big of an opportunity the Padres failed to achieve in 2024. Not that this maybe was our year. That this might have been. But I really hope that we're not looking back at 2030 going, yep, 2024, that was our year.
Yeah. Although I do think everybody looked back on 2023 the same way. You know what I mean? That with all that huge roster of amazing players,
well,
how could they not?
Was too,
So I guess there will be some kind of run where you know what I mean, like eventually you can't look back and say, I guess, that every single year, you know what I mean, for better or for worse. It's either gonna
I hope the window's still open.
Exactly.
I hope the window's still open.
And again, maybe that's you gotta, the window can reopen with a new crop of young guys it can stay open, right? As long as you're bringing in good players and younger players.
Salas,
Ethan
DeVries.
Salas, right? DeVries, if they end up being what the team hopes they will be, but because you are locked into these bigger contracts for some of these other guys, they've also got to keep performing at a level close to what they need to be at. Just as long as they're up there in that sphere.
Yeah, and Torrance in the chat just said it. Great way to go to break. It's too early for all this. Preller rarely gets things going this early. You're right.
You're right, Torrance.
Well, that's why the beginning of this segment, you might not have been here, Torrance, but the beginning of this segment was like, when will these things happen? And I literally don't think, here's what I think is going to happen for the Padres, for poor Sammy, after 3 days in winter meetings. I think he's going to have the name of a new Rule 5 draftee. And that's it. I think it's going to be rumors, talks, players signing on other teams, and we draft a Rule 5 guy. And I hope we don't draft 2. And that's it. And I think we'll make our moves. I think it's Sasaki or bust. And then after that, it's making adjustments from there. But, gang, market's changed. Market's run away. Padres are standing here. The market's run away from them in the other direction. We got to take a timeout. When we come back, chance to reflect on the football weekend that was with Braden's classic Monday overreactions. Braden's football segment right after this. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. And you know what, gang? Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Hey, San Diego sports fans, head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings. Try their new maple chipotle sauce for a rich maple sweetness and a mild, smoky chipotle heat. Or for a bit of kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery. Buffalo Wild Wings. Go. We go. 11:47 is the time. We've got just about enough time to get through some overreactions from the NFL weekend that was in Braden's football segment.
What a fun weekend it was.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It was more fun in college football, but I digress.
Last night was fun.
Last night was fun.
Oh, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was
Good game.
enjoyable.
Doink.
Very good
The
game.
Chiefs might be
doink.
one of the luckiest teams I've
They
ever
really
seen.
are.
They're definitely
It's
losing
like-
in the playoffs.
Every game is
that
that one possession, one score game.
They're
at the very end.
they're playing with magic too much.
A walk-off field goal.
Their right
again.
tackle was false started about 15 times yesterday. Not one time was it called, to the point where they even talked about on the broadcast.
Yes.
Well, he's leaving early. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you get away with it, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, man, the officiating in Chiefs games are just totally different. I don't have a dog in the fight, so I don't really care. But, I watched the ending of that game going like, Monday morning would have sucked 10 years ago.
Oh,
Would have
my gosh.
sucked.
Yeah.
They would have sucked.
Yeah.
I'd have been so furious.
Because it was a good game in general. I mean, in terms of like both teams going back and
You know
forth.
what was funny? And
Moral
we're going to
victory
run out
for
of
the
we're going to
Chargers.
run out of time on the predictions. But I was watching the game with my son, who knows I hate the Chargers, right? And the Chargers were driving for the inevitable field goal to take the lead, and he's just like, "Oh, well, blah blah blah." You must be mad. And I go, "Son, the Chargers are going to score. They are going to take the lead." And then they are going to lose it at the very, very end. And he's like, well, you don't know that. Maybe I do.
That's like him. That's like you telling him about certain things on Fortnite.
Right. Yeah.
You should land there. No,
yeah.
Dad, I should not land there. That's not a good spot. No, it looks like a
Dad,
good spot.
stay out
Trust
of it.
me.
Yeah.
I know I can land there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Vikings and the Falcons. We had Kirk Cousins going against his former team, and they're in a big, they're in a downturn right now. The
Yeah, they
Atlanta Falcons.
Hoo-wee.
Cousins didn't want to leave Minnesota. Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell didn't really want to lose him, but it came down to the Vikings not wanting to guarantee as much money as the Falcons did to the 36-year-old quarterback coming off major season-ending injuries. So Cousins went to Atlanta on a massive deal, while the Vikings signed Sam Darnold as a bridge quarterback and drafted J.J. McCarthy from Michigan in the first round. McCarthy suffered a season-ending knee injury in the preseason, which meant Sam Darnold was going to have to season-long bridge this season. He has responded with a brilliant season that has positioned Minnesota as one of the top teams in the league. Cousins, meanwhile, finds himself on a 4-game losing streak at the worst possible time of the season and looking over his shoulder at rookie Michael Penix Jr., whom the Falcons shockingly selected with the 8th pick in the draft just a few weeks after signing Cousins. Over the past 4 games, Cousins has 0 touchdown throws and 8 interceptions. Buy or sell, the Vikings made the right call moving on from Cousins.
I buy.
I mean,
yeah,
absolutely.
It's hard to not buy that now.
And listen, I came to say for this game on this show, I've been doubting Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold's doing it. So until he inevitably loses in the playoffs, I think he deserves a lot of credit. Good job.
I buy that in a sense that Kirk Cousins did very well with Kevin O'Connell there, and he goes elsewhere. And now Sam Darnold's doing really well with Kevin O'Connell there. And so now if you're the Vikings, it's like, do we have to spend a ton of money on this quarterback position?
We're still able to get it done.
We could get it done with these guys and some of the moves that they have around the club. Titans, second-year quarterback Will Levis. Man, this team is so bad. Has been up and down and occasionally injured. He puts mayonnaise in his coffee. But the new coaching staff under Brian Callahan wanted to give him this season to show them whether he could be their quarterback or not. Second-round pick in 2023 under the previous coaching staff. Levis got a clean slate with Callahan and company and has been playing a bit better in recent weeks. But on Sunday, got a home game against one of the worst pass defenses in the league and laid an egg. He threw for 168 on 19 of 32 passing with no touchdowns. Titans suffered a heinous 10-6 loss to the Jags, who didn't have their quarterback. They went Mac Jones.
It was really bad.
Levis suffered a shoulder injury in the final play of the first half, and that might have affected him in the second half, but obviously wasn't serious enough to prevent him from playing. Titans are 3-10, bound for a very high draft pick, and there will be quarterback questions to be answered.
Is
Buy or
this the mayonnaise
sell?
guy?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I said he puts mayonnaise in his
Mayo man.
Titans will be in the quarterback market again this offseason. This is a lot of years in a row for those guys.
100%
I mean,
buy.
that's why I don't buy. They do it every year. Seems like they're always doing that.
Buy.
I buy it. They'll be in the
right.
quarterback market again.
Levis.
They don't have a quarterback on their team that's worth keeping.
Yeah.
They got rid of the other guy.
Yeah.
Who's ended up backing up somewhere. I forgot where he was backing up. The dude from Liberty. But firing Vrabel was kind of.
Then again, if you hang on to a quarterback, sometimes it works out. Let's get to the next one.
Panthers lost Sunday, and they're 3-10, but the loss was to the Eagles in Philadelphia. Not exactly a lot of shame in that. Did give some guy in Kentucky some heart palpitations.
Oh, yeah, it did.
His $3.1 million bet that almost went down the drain for a $460,000 profit.
When the Panthers had the ball,
I was
trust me, I was locked in on that game.
I was locked in on that game, too.
Let's go, Panthers.
Carolina had a 16-14 lead going into the fourth quarter, and even after the Eagles reclaimed the lead, Young led the Panthers on a final drive that looked for a brief moment like he had won the game. Xavier Legette appeared to catch the ball in the end zone on second down with 52 seconds left, but it turned out to be an incomplete pass, and the Panthers fell short on third and fourth downs. Buy or sell? Bryce Young will be the Panthers' Week 1 starter in 2025. I'll buy that.
I buy it.
Buy.
I think he's settling in. I think they need more time, just a little bit more time.
I think the Andy Dalton move was perfect for them. Kind of fill the void for a little bit and give the guy confidence again back when he comes back in, and did a great job with that. And I mean, he's your number 1 overall pick. So and you traded a lot for him. So you gotta live and die with that guy.
Yeah.
On to the Eagles, the Seahawks, another quarterback. Geno Smith. Seahawks beat the Cardinals on Sunday for the second time in 3 weeks. Take something resembling control of the NFC West of a 2-game lead. Still have to hold off the Rams, but the Seahawks have won 4 games in a row, coming out of their bye, and are playing as consistent as any team in the division. Smith with a cool 24 for 30 for 233 and a touchdown in this one. Seattle rode a balanced offensive attack, featured 176 yards on the ground. What a story for Geno Smith, right? I mean, he was a high draft pick, didn't work out, ends up being the backup in Seattle to Russell Wilson. They trade Russell Wilson away. Geno steps in. Buy or sell, Geno Smith going to get a contract extension from the Seahawks this offseason.
Easy buy.
Yeah,
I think I buy
too.
that.
Right.
I think he's done a great job
He's
in
earned it.
filling in. And he's had it takes time to develop quarterbacks in this
Yes.
league. Last one for you. Barely have time for it. Bills were as hot as anybody heading into Week 14, riding a 7-game win streak and having just clinched their 5th division title with a snowy victory over the Niners on Sunday. But Rams beat them in one of the wildest games of the year, racking up 457 yards of offense and holding on for a 44-42 victory in L.A.
That's insane.
Both teams exceeded 100 rushing yards and 300 passing yards, and neither had a turnover. Bonkers game, but the point is the Rams won it. Matt Stafford threw 3 touchdown passes. Kyron Williams had 2. Puka Nacua, and other Madden-esque stat line of 12 catches for 162 and a touchdown, lugging countless fantasy teams into the league playoffs. Rams blocked the punt, ran it back for a touchdown, too. Pretty good performance out of a team that was just around 500. They're going to be competing still with the Seahawks for the division, even though the record's not very good.
I didn't see this game. I saw the score.
I saw it.
To
It was
me,
pretty...
it tells me that where's the defense? Where was the defense?
Right. Well,
So that
they're
makes me think
trying to
that-
stop the Bills, but buy or
That's true,
sell,
the Bills
no
are
one
good,
is
yeah.
going to want to face the Rams in the NFC playoffs.
I
Sell. Hard sell.
I don't
There's
know that
3
I'm a
teams in the
full
NFC
believer
better than
yet.
the Rams. Easily.
It's really
So,
top heavy in that league.
By definition, would you rather face the Lions or the Rams? Would you rather face the
Rams.
Eagles or the Rams?
The Rams.
So that's all you need to know. There it is. Braden's football segment done. Stay tuned. 12 o'clock Sports Fix. Get you caught up on everything right after this. Lunch hour on Monday. Welcome to it. Halfway point of your Monday get-together on Annie and Elsten. It is San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. It's the Annie and Elsten program. Annie Heilbrunn, Craig Elsten, Braden Suprenant. Rolling till 2 o'clock. Wynn and Chris will check in from 2 to 4:30, and then we will bring you Westwood One's pregame coverage of Monday Night Football. And it's the Bengals and it's the
Cowboys.
Oh, my gosh.
It's a Simpson game.
It is on ESPN
Oh,
Plus.
it's the Simpsons
the
game?
recreated Simpsons games. Everybody's
Okay.
a Simpsons character.
Well,
Have you
that
ever
I
watched
might
one of those
watch.
before?
I haven't.
I
I
watched
watched-
like the
I've just seen
what you
clips.
call it, SpongeBob-y one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
watched that one time. It actually is hilarious.
Yeah, it was
Pretty
really
good.
funny.
It
They do-
actually
they
is.
do a
It's
good
worth
job, yeah.
it's worth the tune in for the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, we'll give that a look. Meanwhile, we've got a whole lot to get
We
to
have
from
a
the
lot.
weekend that was, and Annie's baseball report might take 8 minutes, so
All
let's
right.
jump right into it.
I'm going to try to just run through this. All right, the Juan Soto sweepstakes are over. Superstar outfielder Juan Soto and the New York Mets are in agreement on a 15-year, $765 million contract. It is the largest deal in professional sports history. The contract includes no deferred money, and his escalators can reach above $800 million when all is said and done. Heart-throwing Japanese right-hander Roki Sasaki was posted to Major League Baseball teams and will be available to sign as a free agent from Tuesday through 5 p.m. Eastern on January 23rd. The 2024 signing period ends Sunday, and the 2025 period opens on January 15th. Closer Jordan Romano and the Philadelphia Phillies are in agreement on a free agent contract pending a physical. Romano, 31, was non-tendered by Toronto earlier this offseason and joins a Phillies bullpen that lost Jeff Hoffman and Carlos Estevez to free agency. Shortstop Willie Adames and the San Francisco Giants are in agreement on a 7-year, $182 million contract, the largest in franchise history. Adames, 29, was reportedly the Giants' top target this winter. And let's move over to Los Angeles. The Dodgers are in agreement with right-hander Blake Trinan on a 2-year deal worth $22 million. Trinan, 36, was the Dodgers' highest leverage reliever this past year, posting a 1.93 ERA. They have also agreed to a deal with outfielder Michael Conforto per reports. It's a 1-year pact worth $17 million. Mike Giovanna of the LA Times reports that the deal includes deferred money and an $8.5 million signing bonus. The Dodgers and outfielder Teoscar Hernandez have interest in a reunion after a successful season together, but no deal has come together yet. Alden Gonzalez of ESPN reports that the two sides have been negotiating for weeks, but have been, quote, unable to bridge the gap. So we'll see if Teoscar goes elsewhere. The Mariners have expressed willingness to listen to offers on veteran right-hander Luis Castillo, according to the Boston Globe. The report comes on the heels of Mariners president of baseball operations Jerry DiPoto referring to dealing from the rotation as the club's, quote, Plan Z for the offseason back in October. The right-hander will be 32 next week. He has 3 more guaranteed years on the extension he signed with the Mariners prior to 2023. He'll earn around $21 million each year. The Orioles are in agreement with outfielder Tyler O'Neill on a 3-year, $49.5 million deal. Heyman adds that the Boris Corporation client's contract comes with an opt-out opportunity following the 2025 season. Right-hander Clay Holmes and the New York Mets have agreed on a 3-year, $38 million contract with an opt-out after the second year. Catcher Danny Jansen and the Tampa Bay Rays are in agreement on a 1-year, $8.5 million contract that includes a mutual option for a second season. And despite the Braves' slow start to the winter, President of Baseball Operations Alex Anthopoulos told reporters yesterday that the club is willing to surpass the luxury tax for a 3rd consecutive year to address the club's needs this winter. And finally, 2 stories a little bit off the field here. Dick Allen, a 7-time All-Star and 2-time home run champion, and Dave Parker, a 2-time batting champion and the owner of 2 World Series rings, earned election to the National Baseball Hall of Fame yesterday via the Classic Baseball Era Committee process. The 8-person ballot was comprised of candidates whose primary contribution to the game came prior to 1980. And finally, Merv Rettenmund, who played 13 seasons in the major leagues before becoming a respected hitting coach after his playing days ended, he passed away on Saturday at the age of 81. A 2-time World Series champion and a longtime San Diegan, his 22 pinch hits for San Diego in 1977 remain a club record. And that is it on the baseball front.
Which means it's time to switch over to Braden for the latest in the NFL.
NFL news for you. Got a couple of stories very briefly. We'll start with the one that happened last Thursday, and that was the Lions and Packers game, drawing an NFL streaming record 17.29 million viewers. Detroit's 34-31 comeback victory over Green Bay last Thursday night averages 17.29 million viewers, making it the most streamed NFL regular season game in history. It was also Amazon Prime Video's most watched game since exclusively taking over the primetime package in 2022. According to Nielsen, the audience peaked at 18.87 million viewers during the first half, which also is a new high. Previous record for Thursday Night Football on Prime was 16.23 million for Cowboys Giants. Well, what a surprise.
Yes.
Cowboys Giants, another night game. That is that.
Can't wait.
We have an update. This is kind of NFL, kind of college. Bill Belichick confirmed he has been in talks with North Carolina about the school's open coaching job in an interview with Pat McAfee on his show on Monday afternoon. Sources told ESPN that talks between UNC and Belichick have continued with some type of resolution, either way expected this week. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that Belichick met with North Carolina officials for 5 hours on Sunday. A smiling Belichick declined to comment when asked specifically about the interview, joking that he wanted to keep his old news conference aura, which is hilarious. I don't think he used the term aura. There's no way.
50 aura points for you.
That's right. Just to upset Craig, he has to see more Belichick press conferences.
We're on to Cincinnati.
On to some funnier news. This is what Tom Brady on Fox had to say about what he thought Bill Belichick would be like trying to recruit kids to go to North Carolina.
This is like Saturday Night Live skit.
Belichick is actually interviewing for college jobs? Can you imagine him coaching college?
No.
Absolutely not. Recruiting an 18-year-old?
You really want to come here? I mean, we don't really want you anyway, but I mean, I guess you could come. We'll figure out if you play.
If you bring your parents and use us as a third party, you're gone. You're off the team. We're direct.
Some scar tissue built up here among these guys.
That was Julian Edelman, Tom Brady, and Gronkowski giving their impersonations of what Bill Belichick would be like recruiting an 18-year-old.
Unbelievable.
That is spot on.
Nope.
Good luck with recruiting North Carolina. That's it for the NFL. I got some more with college basketball, football, and high school football. 3 teams punched their ticket to state this weekend. More on that after Craig.
All right, but I've got a voluminous report that covers multiple sports and multiple teams, so let's get right to it. Here's the thing that all the local teams should be tuning in every day at 12 o'clock to make sure that their name gets heard. It's time for your local teams report. Here we go. San Diego Gulls are hot all of a sudden, gang. Look out. They've won 3 in a row. Took care of home ice over the weekend, beat Bakersfield 5-3 on Friday, then took down the hated Ontario Reign in a shootout 2-1 on Saturday. That doesn't mean it was a high-scoring game. It means it was tied after overtime, and they had to play a shootout. That's what that means. 2-1 shootout win on Saturday at Pechanga Arena. So, for the first time all year, the Gulls have won 3 in a row. San Diego Seals were on the road for the first time in the NLL season. They dropped an overtime heartbreaker at Georgia Swarm, 13-12. Seals are back home on Friday night for what they're calling Emo Night. So everyone's going to dress emo.
They're going to play punk rock and all that stuff.
I love that.
Emo Night's a very popular
Emo Night's
night
a fun
for a lot of
night,
fans.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean-
People, it's an easy theme, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just go to the dark side a little.
Is Alt 94.9 sponsoring that event?
That's a great question. So that'll be Emo Night on Friday. San Diego Sockers opened their season on the road in Tacoma Saturday night. They lost 5-4. Very rare for the Sockers to lose an opener of any sort, but they did. They will be home Saturday. And the San Diego Clippers lost at South Bay 119-111 on Saturday night. They play at Salt Lake City on Tuesday and Thursday. Over to the NBA now. We'll start with who's hot and who's not. Who's hot? Dallas Mavericks. They've won 7 games in a row, 11 out of 12. They took down Toronto over the weekend. Meanwhile, who's not? Denver Nuggets. Despite their MVP, 3-time NBA MVP Nikola Jokic had one of the best weekends in the history of the association. Between Saturday and Sunday, Jokic scored 104 points in just over 24 hours. Poured in 56 and then followed it with 48. However, when he scored 56, the Nuggets lost. to the Wizards that had lost 16 in a row and had been outscored by over 300 points on the season.
Oh, gosh.
And they were like, Nicola, score as much as you want. Nobody else score. And it literally worked. And the Wiz won, snapping their 16-game losing streak. So, Nugs, you get the cold spot just for that. On the SoCal front, the Lakers could have been in the cold spot. They've been in a major skid, dropping 7 out of 10. On Sunday, they played without LeBron James for the first time. He sat with a sore foot, and Lakers won. They beat the Portland Trailblazers 107-98. It's crazy, and I heard about this on one of my NBA podcasts on the Kevin O'Connor show over the weekend, Annie. But for the first time in his entire career on a LeBron James team, their plus-minus in terms of points scored and allowed when you're on the floor versus off.
Yeah.
The Lakers are better when he's off the floor.
Oh, no.
Than when he's on.
Ooh, that's a hard turning point in your career.
Yeah, like they're getting outscored by like 17 points per 100 possessions when he's on the floor, and then they're actually outscoring teams when he's off the floor.
So now is this J.J. Redick's thing to bear, like cross to bear kind of? Like how do you work through the guy who probably got him hired, by the way?
Right. His podcast buddy.
And who wants to play in every game and was his podcast buddy.
Done on that.
And now you have to kind of face the facts of the stats.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a rough spot.
Yeah, it's a tough.
It's a tough spot when you literally just did a commercial campaign a year ago, LeBron James versus Father Time,
right?
With LeBron James winning every time, and it's like, oh, the rematch. However,
it's year to year.
Yeah.
Right?
Father Time keeps turning up every year. Like, I'm ready to play again. So that's what's going on with the Lakers. On the Clippers front, the Clips were beaten by Houston at Intuit Dome last night, 117-106. However, people are happy around the Clips because Kawhi Leonard has started to resume rehabilitation and practicing. He's reportedly, while they haven't set a set timetable, he's supposedly closer to a return than he is away from a return. And the Clippers made a point of putting out there yesterday that they think he's going to come back and really be an impact player when he comes back. So, like, he's going to come back for real. So, hey, exciting for the Clips if that amazing, fantastical idea comes to bear. The Orlando Magic have been succeeding despite an oblique injury to their number one player, star Paolo Banchero. In fact, they'd been rolling, and they did that thanks to the expanded play of Franz Wagner, who averaged almost 28 points a game in Banchero's absence. Now, Wagner also has a severe oblique strain. Yikes! Let's hope the Magic get Banchero back soon. Only one game in the NBA tonight. Raptors-Knicks. Tune in at your own discretion. In the NHL, big trade was made over the weekend. Former New York Rangers captain Jacob Trouba was traded to the Anaheim Ducks for a fourth-round draft pick and defenseman Urho Vakanainen. This deal is actually making a lot of waves in the National Hockey League, which is weird because the ice is frozen. But it's making a lot of waves because the Rangers had told Trouba that they were going to put him on waivers if he did not accept a trade to Anaheim. Trouba had a limited no-trade clause in his deal, wanted to exercise that clause, and the Rangers went, well, actually, you know what? That's cool. You can do that, but we're just going to put you on waivers. So a lot of people are upset. NHLPA is upset, and they're looking to make some noise about that going forward. That's something to keep in mind. For the Ducks, they got a good player. The Ducks are going to be on the road at Montreal later this afternoon. Detroit at Buffalo, Chicago, New York, an OG6 matchup. That's your NHL schedule today. Last night, both the Ducks and the Kings were off. Our beloved Winnipeg Jets lost to Columbus 4-1, and in Philadelphia, a team formerly known as Arizona was victorious. 4-2. Dodged that foul. Last thing from me is MLS. Did you catch this? Sellout crowd at Dignity Health Sports Park on Saturday for MLS Cup. LA Galaxy scored 2 goals in the first 13 minutes of MLS Cup 2024. Conceded in the 36th. Hung on for dear life from there. 2-1 LA Galaxy win and claim the club's 6th MLS championship. That means San Diego FC's first ever match will be on banner night in LA, February 25th. They face the Galaxy.
So they kick off on the road.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
They'll be home on March 1st, but their first game will be February 25th, and it will be
When
LA
they
Galaxy, raise the banner, bring out Landon, all the
And
stuff.
will Casey Stoney be? No, not Casey Stoney.
I mean, she could be there.
Wrong. She could be there, right? Wrong head coach there.
Theoretically.
She might make it.
She might. I mean, she'll probably be in attendance if she's coaching
Yeah,
for
for Angel City,
Angel City across the way.
Yeah,
Correct.
maybe,
yes.
maybe she'll
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 be in
roll
the
on
VIP
over.
suite is all I was trying to say there.
I think she will be in the
Yes, that's
C-suite
right, that's
for
right.
sure. Back to Braden for the college story now.
College and high school sports here. So are the Aztecs. Aztecs had a pretty good day in college football on Friday. They had a lot of players announce that they're coming back next year. Most notably, Trey Wright.
Yeah, big
Trey
news.
White is coming back to next season, as well as Tana Latuli, some of the captains of last year's team. They put out a lot of unfinished business graphics, so good to see those players and a lot of defensive players for the Aztecs as well. Delcion Staley also announced he's coming back. Junior cornerback Chris Johnson announces he's back. Ross Masauli from Cathedral, and then Jay Serra is coming back. So that's part of the process, right, of trying to build a program. You can't have everybody leave every single year. Sean Lewis gets a bunch of guys to come back. A couple of local products are not coming back, most notably Keenan Christian. He will be entering the transfer portal. Another player that entered the transfer portal, Brady Anderson, but he has also just announced that he has been re-offered by the Aztecs. So I guess he has a place to come back if he wants to come back. Take that for what it's worth. There is an opening now for the Aztecs defensive coordinator position. Eric Schmidt has been announced as the North Dakota head football coach. So North Dakota football will be having Eric Schmidt as their new head coach, their 28th head coach in the program. That was announced earlier this morning. So there's some Aztec news for you. The good news, of course, is a lot of returning players for the Aztecs, but returning players that had impacts for San Diego State this year, something they can definitely build upon. Aztecs basketball over the weekend took on the USD Toreros. Game was close going into halftime, 33-31. Very valiant effort out of USD. Benji Pierre, 17 points for the Toreros, hit 5 3-pointers after coming in with 0 for 10 from beyond the arc. Player that is coming off of an injury from a year ago. He did really well for the Aztecs, though. A lot of depth, a lot of great plays. Boyd led the way with 17 points. Little interesting, Guath ended up leaving the game and did not come back, and he did go down very aggressive on the court. Came back for a little bit after that, didn't play too many minutes. Hopefully he is okay, as well as Miles Bird, who was shaken up a little bit and kind of limbered around. But the Aztecs pulled through and really had a great second half against USD. They won 74-57. With that, they are now ranked 23rd in this week's AP poll. They moved up one spot. Had just a 5-point lead leading into halftime at Fresno State, a 2-point lead against USD, but were able to hammer both teams in the second half. What's up next for the Aztecs will be a Wednesday matchup at Viejas against California Baptist. Don't call us Cal Baptist. California Baptist.
Don't cut it short.
That's right. As for the other school in town, UCSD, great start to the season, 8-2, now 2-0 in conference play in the Big West, as they beat up on the Bakersfield Roadrunners 81-60. A big win for UCSD.
This time Acme wins.
That's right. The Tritons stopped it. The Wile E. Coyote and empowered Greek mythology. Their next game will be at Idaho and then at Idaho State and a couple other non-conference games before they resume conference play in January. So very interesting for the Big West. A lot of teams are playing 2 Big West games and then off for the rest of December to play non-conference, and then Big West resumes in the new year. So they won't play another Big West game until they play at Cal State Fullerton on January 1st. That's a look at the college basketball realm in town. As for high school football, we had 6 teams qualify for the state regional playoffs. 3 of them have advanced to the state final. Starting on Friday night, it was Lincoln outlasting Newberry Park 34-27. Needed a little bit of a late comeback. Hornets scored with 29 seconds to go to take a 34-27 lead over Newberry Park. They punched their ticket to the Division I AA state championship. The other team that played on Friday, Ron Berner's El Cap Vaqueros beat Silverado 33-19 out in Lakeside. Silverado, the team from Victorville, an upset there for El Cap. They have punched their ticket to the Division V AA championship. Granite Hills, valiant comeback against Edison, comes one touchdown short. They come up 6 points short. They lose to Edison out of Huntington Beach, 34-28 in the Division 1A playoffs. Rio Hondo Prep goes to Poway and doubles up the Titans, 28-14, eliminating both Granite and Poway. And then the season for St. Augustine has finally come to an end. A great season for the Saints in the playoffs, in which they won 4 straight games in a CIF title. Went 0-10, just an insane story. Their season comes to an end to a team that went 1-9 in the regular season. St. Pius X, St. Matthias Academy won 28-7 over St. Augustine. But have no fear, another East County team was able to punch their ticket to the state championship game. Monte Vista beats Pasadena 41-21, and the Monarchs are playing for a state championship coming up on Saturday. So Friday, it'll be Lincoln versus Pittsburgh, who upset Folsom in Northern California. Should be a great matchup on Friday night at Saddleback Junior College. That game will be at 8 o'clock. And then El Cap and Carmel will play for the Division V AA championship at 8 o'clock as well. That site will be, I think, at Long Beach Community College. I got to double check. I don't know exactly where that game's going to be. It's not at the big, where all the other games are. And then Somerville will take on Monte Vista on Saturday, December 14th, coming up this weekend at 3 o'clock. So 3 teams left for a state championship bid, and that is a look at the fix for high school and college.
And just quickly on SDSU, Magoon Gwath, he was tired. I guess he did too many workouts.
That's what they said, yeah.
That's what they said.
Yeah, so just
Worked
as a young guy, needs to learn how to
He hit the floor really hard.
conserve his body a little bit more. Yeah, he did. Well, he's so big.
And then, of
Big
course,
man fall hard.
That's right. Big tree fall
Big
hard.
tree fall hard. Yeah.
Work
As they
smarter,
say.
not harder,
Yeah.
Mizzou.
Saying wedding
Yeah.
crashers. They probably also didn't really need him in that game. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah.
Great job, everybody. There's your fix. Voluminous, yet efficient. So
Hellcats
much
playing
news.
at Fullerton.
Let's take a break because Sammy Levitt standing by from Dallas to join us at the winter meetings. We will check in with Sammy right after this timeout on The Fan. All right, football fans, listen up. You need that extra edge for game day, then you need to cash the ticket. That's the podcast starring Mike Valenti and Jim Costa with new episodes every Thursday and Friday, breaking down the biggest matchups, finding the best value on the board every single week. Cash the Ticket is the podcast to help you bet smarter on pro and college games. Follow it in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's jump out to the line. He's only got about 10 minutes with us. Sammy Levitt is joining us live from baseball's winter meetings for his first of 3 appearances this week on Annie and Elsten. Sammy, how's the morning been treating you?
Well, he can't come on until you say who it's sponsored by.
Oh, literally. Look at this guy. He's just like holding out for his corporate mention.
Or I just didn't put him on the air until you read the corporate.
Oh, dang it. Okay. Sam joins us live from the MLB Winter Meetings presented by San Diego County Credit Union. It's not big bank banking. It's better. Do I need to ring the bell, too? Or?
All right, Sam's good now.
Okay,
Now he got paid. Now he's willing to do the deal.
Here we go. Sammy, come out and play.
I'm going to put his graphic up now. Now he's good to go.
Hi, Sam.
Hi. Yes. Don't forget the sponsor read. That's a very important part of our radio business, as you know.
It's really
but
kind
the
of the
morning
only thing that matters, to be honest.
Yes, indeed. The morning here at the Hilton Anatole, I'm not sure if it's Anatole or Anatoly, has been nice, active, lots of people milling around and, things being discussed, between reporters, between different baseball people, baseball executives that are here. So, I'm sure, Craig, you've had a chance to check out some of these winter meetings in San Diego. It's a good time. There's a lot of chatter. There's, a lot of talking that goes on about different things that are going on, but it's been a very, very nice morning so far. And obviously with the big news with Juan Soto yesterday, that doesn't have a ton to do with the Padres. I suppose the only part that has to do with the Padres is that they don't have to face them 13 times a year with the Dodgers, and maybe best case scenario, he would have ended up in the American League. But that was certainly the talk last night, and now that that's over, I think a lot of us are expecting there to be some additional moves over the next 3 days. We'll see.
And Sam, another piece of news, Roki Sasaki being posted. What have you heard about him, or is there any chatter going on about him?
Yeah, there is. Obviously, that was official this morning, posted for MLB clubs. I mean, it certainly sounds like it's still going to take a pretty lengthy process for Sasaki to meet with teams and ultimately pick where he wants to go. I will say this. I think the feeling amongst a lot of people here is that the Padres are going to be heavily involved. Obviously, Mike Schilt, earlier today, I'm sure you guys may have covered that, said as much so, and Mike is scheduled to speak with the media at large in a little while here in Dallas. And I was talking to John Heyman earlier, and he said he's heard that the Padres and Dodgers are the quote-unquote clear and heavy favorites. So, you talk to some different people around here, and I think there's no doubt that the Padres are considered a realistic landing spot for Roki Sasaki, and they have a case. So we'll see what ultimately plays out. I think in their situation in particular, he's so incredibly important, not just because they could very well use a starting pitcher of that quality, but he comes at the right price, which I think is, some of the chatter around these winter meetings as well. I know this is sort of a different, question, but, I think that's sort of the thing that's on everybody's mind as I talk to people around here is just what is the Padres' propensity to spend right now, and how creative is A.J. Preller going to have to get guys he wants and fill different holes and ultimately stay within budget. So Sasaki obviously fills a lot of different needs in a lot of different ways, and I certainly feel like the buzz around here is that the Padres are going to be very serious players. Does that mean they get them? I don't know, but I think it's fair to say you would be hard-pressed to find anybody around here who doesn't believe the Padres are really serious players for Sasaki.
I know we don't have a ton of time with you today, Sam, but I still nonetheless want to spend some of my time asking you a process question. While you are there at the winter meetings, I'm going to kind of couch this as eyes up, eyes down. As you're spending time, morning hours, is it literally bouncing around the lobby with your eyes up, trying to find somebody? Oh, there's somebody. And then, like, walking to them, getting into their space? Hey, what do you hear? What do you know? Like bouncing around, social butterfly? Or is it more eyes down? You're on your device. You're looking for the latest things that people around you are tweeting or are posting, and then you're reacting from there. Well, how would you say that's playing out?
I would say in my case, in my specific role, it's a little bit of both, right? I mean, I think part of my job here is to react. I think part of my job is to report on what people say. But I think it's also the former as well. I mean, look, the last 3 seasons, being at the ballpark, most of not everybody here, but a lot of people here, I at least know a little bit or have a relationship with. So it's not like a total stranger coming up to them. And I feel like that's just a big part of the winter meetings in general is interacting with everybody and not being shy. I mean, it really, for people that have never been to one of these or stood in the lobby, because anybody can walk in and stand in the lobby, it really is a scene. I mean, you will see every executive, every manager, every big-time national reporter at one point or another walking around here. So I think for me, it's a little bit of both. You try to, just walk right up to people and say hello and say nice to see you and just chat about things, get a general vibe, but also certainly, seeing what people are reporting and reacting to, because as we know, there's a handful of those national beat reporters who seem to be on a lot of these stories and break it first. So a little bit of both, Craig, I would say.
I mean, just in the few minutes we have left, what's on the agenda for the rest of the day? Does Preller speak today as well, or is it Schultz today and Preller tomorrow?
Both will speak today.
Okay.
So Mike Schultz is scheduled to speak here at 1:40 San Diego time, and then AJ will talk shortly after that. We should hear from AJ Preller every day, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. I'm sure we'll have the audio for the station. We'll have some video as well. So looking forward to hearing what Mike Schultz has to say. Obviously, he talked pretty openly about Sasaki a little bit earlier, so I'm interested to hear what else he has to say. And with AJ Preller, look, we with AJ, you typically get pretty limited information that you can really run with, but I do think there are some pretty interesting things to ask him about and see what you can get as far as the payroll, which I just think is a really, really massive part of this whole thing. Now that Sasaki has been posted, I'm curious to know what is the process of recruiting somebody that, the situation's not based on money. It's based on convincing him that he's the right fit, or I should say that you're the right fit for him organizationally and baseball-wise and everything that comes with him coming over to the United States. So those two guys are scheduled to speak. And we'll continue to post some different clips depending on who I talk to as we go.
Well, we appreciate you, man. We'll let you get back to it. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And I know you'll be on with Gwen and Chris as well, so we look forward to your afternoon report. But thanks for carving out a few for us right here, buddy.
All right. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sam.
Sam Levitt joining us live from the MLB Winter Meetings presented by San Diego County Credit Union. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better.
And you can see the clips that he's posting on the 97.3 The Fan social media feeds or on Sammy's social media feeds and see what else happens the rest of the day. And,
in fact, the boss sent us one that he had with John Heyman on this. He referenced that. The only reason we haven't played it on the show, honestly, I've got projection fatigue on Roki Sasaki.
It's going to be a long road, too. As you mentioned earlier, it's going to be up and down, and you're going to hear everything between now and January 15th.
But really, what I really, I do honestly firmly believe this. What the national people are telling you right now about Roki Sasaki, they're repeating the things we told you the day this story came out, which was that it was going to be us or them, that the Padres have had years of homework on this kid, that you, Darvish, and he have an actual true relationship with one another, not the kind that you just talk about, but a real relationship with one another, that San Diego's trying to leverage that LA has intrinsic advantages, just like they do for everything in every way, every day. They've got those advantages. They're trying to leverage theirs. All the other teams are going to have their say, and it's going to come down to what Roki wants to do.
That's it. I mean, I think that the Padres have just as great a chance as any other team, and maybe even the best chance. I don't know. It just depends on what Roki wants. Would I be surprised if he ultimately ends up with the Red Sox or the Cubs or in New York, or I will not. And I think Jeff Passan said something. He wrote something last week that I thought was important to remember is nobody had the Angels as the favorite for Shohei Ohtani back when they ended up getting him. So could be a team that we're not even thinking about. But in terms of the Padres having a good chance, seemingly a great chance, I don't have a reason not to believe that.
Yeah. I don't think it hurts that Roki Sasaki is 23. Fernando is 25. Jackson's 21. There's some like age stars in the Padres clubhouse, or you can go over with all the 30-somethings over in Dodger Town where everyone's 30, 31, 32 and above. You know, why not hang with someone like your own age, like Nando and Jackson? Might be good for you. Let's find out. Okay, when we come back, it is Fast Money time. God, this show is just
flown by.
Just flown by. As usual, half the stuff we won't even get to today, and then we'll pile some of that into tomorrow's show. And then
the good thing about having a week of shows to do.
It's true.
Yes.
It's true. But then again, a bunch of new stuff will probably happen tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean,
on the
we'll
winter meetings.
take it right now with the winter meetings. Heck yeah. So keep it coming.
Please do, as long as it doesn't just involve NL West teams getting better. You know, how about some American League signings? Can we stock up the junior circuit a little bit? Just a little bit. Okay, when we come back, it's time to play Fast Money. This is the very popular bonus round from the Family Feud game show, and we have a brand new prize, Annie. We have a brand new prize. Well, it's not exactly brand new because it's still Westgate, but for the next month, for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be qualifying people for a chance to win our grand prize, a 2-night stay at Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino, and 2 tickets to Hoops Central at the Westgate Superbook. What does that mean?
Right.
It means you get to be there during that time in March when all the teams from the colleges play the thing
can't say it.
that we're not allowed to say.
Starts with M, ends with M.
Correct. Well, here's how they do it in the read that I'll do. Experience the madness of March.
Oh, what could that be?
I don't know.
Well, and also remember, we only have 2 weeks left of shows.
That's true.
This week and next week. So if everybody wins, it's
that's
a 1
right.
in 4. It's a 1 in 10 chance.
That's a great point.
You know,
We only have 2
chance
weeks of
if
qualifiers.
everybody wins.
So
That's a great
call
point.
in, try to win.
833. Well, hang on. I got to open the lines. I almost dropped it. Got this tiny little
You
thing.
know, I
here.
have a gavel today. This must be what they use on
The sport court?
The
Yeah,
sport
sport
court.
court.
Yes. Do you have,
It's very
do you have
addictive.
Don't put
do you
the
have a
wig on. It's
Do you have a
probably
wig?
gross.
I don't know. I'm not
Don't
putting
put
the
Wig's
wig
got
on.
weevils in it.
Yeah.
833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Not confirmed that there were weevils in Ella's wig.
weevils.
Just give us a ring. We're going to line up one of you to play Fast Money when we come back on The Fan. Experience the madness of March as only Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino can serve it up to you with high-definition screens, luxury seating, table service, and access to all the best gaming action. Enjoy hoops action from the best up-and-coming stars on giant HD screens in a smoke-free environment as you thrill to the games that keep us coming back to college ball every year. For tickets, head to WestgateResorts.com. You can get a 2-night stay at Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino and 2 tickets to Hoops Central at the Westgate Superbook if you can be victorious in fast money. Here we go. It's fast money time. Our first silly game of the week. We'll play 5 of them this week. We'll play 5 of them next week. From those 10 games, we will have a pool from which we will draw for this contest.
Because some pretty good odds.
Yeah, because last 2 weeks of the contest, we're dark. We're down. Whole station is down.
Westgate Superbook's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
It's a good time.
It's a good prize.
So,
it's a great prize.
With that, we wish you luck. And here's today's first contestant of the week. It's Cameron in San Marcos. Hi, Cameron. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Ready for the madness of March.
Outstanding.
Right. You understand the assignment.
That's right. Guy already knows he won, man.
Yes.
Dialed in.
Cameron, tell us a little bit about yourself before we play the game.
Just a, I guess, baseball radio fan, and really like what you guys do, the whole station, and love listening to you guys.
Appreciate it, Cameron. Well,
thank you.
buttering us up only helps, but you're already on the air,
right.
so it's all good. Here's how the game works,
makes it
Cameron.
easier.
Yeah, it sure does. Very, very straightforward. Here's how it works. You're going to have one decision at the beginning, which is whether you play myself or you play Annie. Whichever host you pick is going to leave the studio. Then our resident Steve Harvey, Mr. Braden Soprenant, has 5 questions that he recently asked of a previous studio audience of Annie and Elsten. You're going to be looking for the most popular answer to those 5 questions. You'll have 60 seconds to do it. Then the host you chose will come back in. They won't know the answers you gave, but they will not be able to use the answers you gave either. Little built-in advantage to you. At the end, we add up the scores, and if you win, you're in. That's how the game's played, Cameron. So it starts with your choice. Would you rather play Craig or Annie today?
Oh, let's go, Craig.
All right.
All
I have to
right.
rewrite. I just assumed you were going to pick Annie, so I wrote Craig, Annie down. Here you go. And
All right.
away I go. Bye-bye.
I got the whiteboard.
All right. I have Excel, too, so
Oh, yeah.
we're okay.
I don't know why we do the whiteboard when you have Excel.
I just started doing that because I'm like, there's a couple of times we couldn't. It's just, they get the answers a lot faster with calculating on Excel. It's a great thing. All right. I digress. You got 1 minute on the clock to answer these 5 questions there. Cameron, if any of them stump you, you can say pass. We get to it if we have time. You good?
Gotcha.
All right. Question number 1. Time will start after I ask you question number 1. Name a food you can eat while driving.
A burger.
Burger.
Right.
Burgermeister Burger. Name a fruit not used for juice.
Apple.
Apple.
Wait, not use. Okay.
Not used for juice. Do you want to
Oh.
try it again?
Banana. Sorry.
Banana. Can't tell you I've ever had banana juice.
I can't either.
Name a fruit people pick themselves.
Apples.
There you go.
A lot of fruit in this one, Braden.
You know, you need your vitamin C.
A lot of
and stuff.
food. 3 food questions so
we
far.
gotta fight off scurvy, Annie. One piece of fruit at a time. Name a gift most babies receive.
Blanket.
A blanket's a
good
great
one.
answer. Name a good curfew time for a 16-year-old.
Midnight.
Midnight. Wow. How generous of you.
Yes.
All right, Cameron.
I mean, is it the weekend, the weekdays? He doesn't know, Braden.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay, wait, was that it?
Midnight. As long as you're on before midnight.
Was that it, Braden?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That would be 5.
5. Okay, Craig's back in the room.
Tried and failed to solve New York Times connections during that minute.
Cameron did a nice job.
He did.
Did he?
He did do a nice job.
Well, we think. We don't really know.
See how I
Braden
do.
knows.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, Craigery.
All right.
We got 5 questions here, starting with question number 1. Name a food you can eat while driving.
French fries.
French fries is a great one.
Yep.
It's a good appetizer as you're driving home when you picked up something.
That is correct.
Got to air it out a little bit, make sure they're not on fire. Make sure they're not too hot, burn your mouth.
Who goes to Mickey D's and doesn't eat a few French fries?
That's
on the
the way.
car
It's
ride
hard.
home?
It's hard not to. It's hard not to. But from one side of the spectrum for diets to another, name a fruit not used for juice. Not used for juice.
A fruit not used for juice is a banana. A fruit not used for juice is. Oh, you use a lime. Kumquat?
I think you're a little too aggressive on that.
That's
Foul.
a foul for sure. It says kumquat. I'm gonna pretend I didn't
Sometimes
hear.
it's worth losing the game just for the answer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say. I'm gonna have to pull up James Franklin. Lock the F in right now.
Okay.
It's
Can't
time to
wait to
lock
see how many
in.
points
Come on,
that
banana's
got.
the only obvious choice for that, I think. But
I think you would have to go with a fruit that people don't remember as a fruit, but I don't know what his panel is.
okay,
gonna pick.
what's the next question?
Okay,
Name a
continue.
fruit people pick themselves.
More fruit.
It's 2 fruit questions.
Apple,
Lenny.
buzz.
Yep, that would be a buzz.
Okay. Strawberry.
That's a good answer. They had those farms up in Carlsbad.
I picked strawberries earlier this fall.
Oh, wow. How about that? Name a gift most babies receive.
A gift. Diapers.
Oh, yep.
Nothing like giving a 1 or 2 year old a box of diapers for their
Well, it's
birthday.
really for the parents, but
They
Is
can
any
open.
gift really for the baby? Yeah.
You know,
I
some of
know.
those answers on there are going to make a lot more sense. Name a good curfew time for a 16-year-old. James, if you're listening, this might
10 o'clock.
prequel you
Yeah, I
when
think
you
Craig
become
might have
16.
the-
10 o'clock.
Because
Sounds
this was
good
they
to
were
me.
probably polled many years ago.
That's
and
right.
I'm going to go 10.
They were less generous at
Lenient?
that time. Lenient, yes.
All right, I'll bring Cameron back on.
All right.
Here are your
Or
answers.
maybe more, I don't know. Okay.
Name a food you can eat while driving. Cameron said a burger.
Yeah.
Burger is good for 17.
All right.
That is the number 3 answer.
Okay.
Craig said French fries. Number 1 answer, 25 points. A
Okay.
good lead for Craig. And then the
I'm going to
fruit
blow
question.
it on this one.
Name a fruit not used for juice. Cameron said banana. Banana is good for 26. Craig said a kumquat. That'd be a 0.
Who out there has had kumquat juice?
Yeah, what's number 2?
That's another personal foul on Craig. Number 2 is cantaloupe, followed by watermelon,
Very foul.
strawberry, honeydew melon, and mango.
I have watermelon juice.
I have watermelon juice. It's good hydration.
Yeah, come on.
Fast food you can eat while driving, or food you can eat was French fries, donuts, hamburgers, bananas, pretzels, and a bagel.
Hamburgers, bananas.
Stop
Is
it.
bananas a fast food?
No,
Or
it's
was
just
it
a name of food. It
Okay,
means
go,
food.
okay, go ahead.
I know
go
you're
ahead.
anti-fruit today, but we'll continue. Name a fruit people pick themselves. Cameron said apples. Number 1 answer, 28 points.
Sure.
28.
Craig said strawberries. Number 2 answer, 25 points.
All right.
Oh, it's
All right.
close.
Oranges and peaches were 3 and 4 on the list.
Okay.
Name a gift most babies receive. Cameron. A blanket.
Sure.
43 points.
Oh,
Number 1
geez.
answer.
Oh.
Craig went with diapers. A modest 11 points.
Okay.
Number 2 answer was rattle, followed by booties, diapers, and stuffed animals. Name a good curfew time for a 16-year-old. Cameron said midnight.
Way too late, Cameron.
12 points. It puts Craig at 126. It puts Cameron at 126.
All right.
Okay.
What do I have not that.
You don't have that. Craig said
10 p.m.
10 p.m. Number 1 answer. 35 points. It puts Cameron as the winner, 126 to 96.
That's fine.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, reasonably close. I mean, there's a built-in advantage to the number 1 answers.
If he didn't go with kumquat,
if
he
I
would've
could have
won.
thought of
Wait, what were the other answers? Watermelon?
cantaloupe, watermelon, strawberry, honeydew, melon, and mango.
Because, like, avocado is a fruit, but people don't remember that
Yeah.
avocado is a fruit.
Right.
I think eggplant is a
Jeez.
fruit. But people don't
Cantaloupe,
remember that
okay,
either.
fine.
Kumquat, though.
Great
Hey,
job,
Cameron, great job.
Yeah, you
That's
did
right.
well, buddy. Stay right
Thank you,
there.
guys.
Stay on hold. We will get your information during the break, and we'll see if we can get you out to the madness of the month of March. out in Las Vegas. That's it for this hour of Annie and Elsten. We are right back to hit reset on everything happening at the winter meetings. Yes, Adam, tomatoes are fruit, but they make juice out of it.
Yes, V8.
All the time. That's why I didn't answer that. But you've never had... I'm not getting a third foul. All right. Hit and reset on all the topics after this quick timeout. Stay with us. Annie and Elsten on The Fan. The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. So while you're listening, you can see what you missed and click to listen on demand. So if you missed Sam Levitt live from the winter meetings,
Yes.
or you missed Fast Money,
Silly games.
we've got you covered. You can always catch our silly game. Download the free Odyssey app. Search 97.3 The Fan. Tap earlier today to get started.
You can also weigh in with a voice message on the Odyssey app.
Yes.
While you're
Let
there,
us know your favorite fruit.
boom. Your favorite juicing fruit.
Yes.
Juicy fruit?
Well, juicy fruit, you can choose that, but that's a gum.
That is a gum.
Nonetheless, go for it. We're going to do Ask Us Anything later, and we'll throw in some messages, absolutely, to Ask Us Anything. So feel free on the Odyssey app. It's the Annie and Elsten Show, which you probably know. And let's hit reset on some of the topics of the day. Day one of the baseball winter meetings. Of course, everyone is agog over Juan Soto's contract for very good reason. 15 guaranteed years. Yeah, before we even talk about the money, 15 years in a world that is here today and gone tomorrow. Right? In a world of what have you done for me lately?
He's 26 right now.
Yeah.
So 41.
He'll be 41 years old. It used to be that players did not commit to play beyond like 36.
I mean, there was a time, exactly, and you kind of figure that the final years of someone's contract are never guaranteed, right? Like you're letting that contract get long so you can bring the AAV down at least a bit, although his AAV is like 51 million a year, something like that.
Yeah.
But for Juan Soto, I mean, look, that is wild to think about. He could take the opt-out after 5 years, but otherwise you are looking at 15 years with the same team, which is the longest contract ever. It's the longest contract in terms of just years. Forget about the money. The money is the highest in sports history. But in terms of years, there was a time a few years ago when all of those 10-year contracts were coming around where there was a rift between MLB and the front offices and the players union because it was a way to get the AAV down and kind of go around, you know, a little bit around. It's not really going around the rules, but it's kind of working the rules to your advantage, just like the deferrals do or whatnot. But everyone knows these contracts are insane, 10 years, 15 years. And so, but look, if you're Scott Boras and you're the players union right now, you feel like you achieved something big with this contract, which is setting a high bar for this caliber of player.
No deferred money. Stick that in your ILA. $75 million signing bonus. Juan Soto happens to be his mailbox is in Florida.
No taxes on that one.
Lucky ducky there. Mm-hmm. Lucky ducky there.
Just like Blake with his
Yep.
in Seattle or Washington.
Now he will pay federal income tax on his gigantic salary. Thank goodness. By the way, taxes are good. It's called the Commons, and it allows us to have things like roads, highways, and the firefighters that you count on every year in fire season here. That comes from our taxes. It doesn't come from the largesse of billionaires. Juan Soto's contract comes from the largesse of a trillionaire, Steve Cohen, who doesn't give a hoot about the salary tax. He'll just pay whatever he wants. He's going to go ahead and continue to spend on the New York Mets. So here in San Diego, what does it mean? It's pretty straightforward, gang. The winter, for a while, it's going to be bad news winters for the San Diego Padres. And when I say that, I want to be really clear. I don't mean like, oh no, like Eeyore talk over here, like, oh boy, Padres are just going to be in the dumps for 7 years. No, I don't mean that at all. What I mean is that the free agent market has gone 70 miles past what Peter Seidler would have been able to do to fight in the market. It's gone 100 miles past where the Padres can currently operate. So when San Diego, year after year, is tasked to retool around an expensive, set, committed core of extremely talented players, a future Hall of Famer, Manny Machado, a potential future Hall of Famer, Fernando Tatis, a potential future Hall of Famer, Yu Darvish, right? You know, good core players, Bogarts, Cronenworth, so on and so forth, Musgrove, get well soon. Like, it's going to be trades. It's going to be promoting from the farm, because spending $23 million on a fifth starter or spending $75 million on an outfielder That's just crazy. It's not going to happen here.
Yeah, and it's hard to say what they're going to do. I mean, I think I really believe that until April 1st, you just don't exactly know what it's going to be. You know, I mean, can they get creative? Do they have something, as Mike Schultz says, up A.J. Preller's sleeves, pants, socks? Sure, I think that they do. I mean, I think that A.J. Preller is working all of those angles. But in terms of making a splash, which doesn't always bode well anyways in the offseason, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to win the next season. Like, they've already made their splashes. Their splashes are these big contracts that they are invested in, and that's kind of what they would call it. They've invested in these players for years to come, and now you got to work on the fringe areas. Does that mean that they're never going to get someone who is a big-time free agent? I don't know about that. I mean, I think that they'd still get a big-time free agent here and there, but the money has to work. And right now, if you are to believe the Dennis Linds, the Kevin Aces, who are writing that they're probably going to be above their payroll from last year, which was 169, and below what they are currently at, which is 209, the only way they can get there with the obligations that they already have to players who are getting raises this year is to trade someone. You can't really make those two things happen otherwise.
That is exactly right. And that's why, you know, again, the whole concept, oh, well, they're going to raise their salary. Yeah, those salaries were baked in. Those are baked in, and the Padres knew 3 years ago where their payroll was going to be in 2025.
It doesn't mean that the Padres also can't get to another year and say, hey, we're committed now to spending over the luxury tax, or we're committed to, you know, getting through this period or that period, and now, but once we get through that, just like we thought last year was going to be, hey, we're resetting the CBT, we're resetting the luxury tax. It's still unknown whether they're going to go over the luxury tax, and we won't know until the end of next year because that is something that happens at the end of the season. But from everything we've been seeing in the reports and hearing, it's unlikely they're going to go over the luxury tax, at least as of right now. So, but could they another year? Could they get a front office that says, hey, we want to spend more? Like, I'm not ruling that out. I have no idea. I think it's interesting that the Braves are willing now to go over for the third year in a row, they're willing to go over the luxury tax. And his owner just came out their GM just came out and said that yesterday. Right. So, I mean, you know, there's a lot of moving parts here that we just don't know. But from everything that we're reading and seeing and hearing in the reports, and those are probably being given from sources within the organization in the know, at least as of right now, they've got a task of cutting payroll while adding pieces, and the two of those don't add up unless you move someone.
Correct. And so I have decided, and will continue to bang on this drum for the next couple of months, that the Padres are going to have to take advantage of where the market is. Okay? If you can't play at market value, and very, 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 very few teams can. I want to be clear about that. Who has been signing players, gang? L.A., New York,
yeah,
San Francisco,
A's.
And the A's.
And the Angels.
And Sacramento. Right. And then the Angels played around.
They've been trading for a lot of guys more than anything else.
Yeah, true.
The Angels went shopping at Aldi. Let's be honest.
Again, I think it's important to say, the Padres are still competitive. They've got a great core group of players that should keep them competitive. As long as those players are performing close to what they were signed for in terms of their talent level on the field, as long as they don't all regress, right? Maybe there's a down year here or there. But for the most part, you know, you have players who can, an opposing team is going to look at the lineup and be like, hey, this is a good lineup. And hey, these are good arms. Hey, we've got to, you know, watch out for these teams. Like, I think they have a team that can contend for a playoff spot regardless of the money thing this year. You know, and they did it last year at the fifth with the 15th highest payroll in the league. That's right smack dab in the middle. The question will be, are all these other teams going to raise their budgets and their payrolls because of what the market's commanding right now? Every player seems to be going for more money. And will the Padres end up losing a little bit of leverage in that area because they can't keep up? I don't know the answer to that yet. But in terms of them having a team that's competitive and fun to watch and should be vying for a playoff spot, they have that. They should be in that area regardless of kind of who they sign.
Angels went to downtown San Diego on Market Street It's a grocery outlet.
Baseball outlet, bargain market.
Aisle 5, 2015 stars. Oh, they're 50% off.
The Angels went
Don't
to
mind if I do.
I like them being aggressive with their Aldi shopping, though.
That's right.
And nothing against Aldi. They
No,
have
no,
great
not at
deals
all.
there.
No, I like Nate's.
By many scores.
I like
there,
Nate's
yes.
Temu comparison better. They went to buy Travis d'Arnaud, and they were like, before you buy, spin the bargain wheel.
That's right.
Oh, look, as long as you pick up Kyle Hendricks and you also pick up two other guys, you can have d'Arnaud at a bargain.
You guys can go to Trader Joe's. We're going to Aldi.
Incredible.
You can't leave Temu without adding like 20 more things to your cart that you do not need.
At all.
They just
And that's
get
the Angels
you.
have been doing.
Pretty much. By the way, one thing that's been just thrown around a million times is that this is for Soto, it's the largest contract in professional sports history.
Is that not true?
Well, let's just add a little context to this. Cristiano Ronaldo is playing soccer in Saudi Arabia this year. He's getting paid $213 million this year.
Yes.
This year. So
the asterisk is really like one contract, the highest number. It's not necessarily per year, right? Because that completely...
Ronaldo's like way out earned
right.
Soto and will way out earn
$200 million
Soto.
a year?
$213 million a year.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
$213 million a year. Not bad.
Soto, did you see all these tweets that are like Soto's making $97 per minute?
Yeah.
$6,000 per hour.
I love those. That was fun when like Max Scherzer was making like $40 million.
I know. It's absolutely insane. But that's where it is. And so when I say you got to play with where the market is, what I mean by that is last year, the reason the Padres were able to create the team they were able to create is because of 3 huge trades that were made by A.J. Preller. And the first was taking advantage of having 1 year of control of this superstar player, Juan Soto. And let's be 100% clear. The Padres are going to end up winning the Juan Soto trade. When you just purely evaluate it, Juan Soto's 1 8-WAR season for the Yankees will be guaranteed eclipsed by whatever King produced, because the Padres got like 6.8 WAR out of the guys they got in that deal. Never mind getting Cease as part of Thorpe. So the Padres are going to wind up getting more overall value out of that trade than the Yankees will. But you understood why the Yankees made the deal, because it was a gamble. The exact same thing is going to happen. Guaranteed, is going to happen when Corbin Burns signs for $30+ million a year, and Max Fried signs for $30+ million a year, and Walker Buehler signs for 1 year, $32 million with an opt-out, and then the next guy signs for $27 million a year, and then Jack Flaherty signs a 6-year, $120 million contract to come back to Detroit or something. All of a sudden, there's going to be 3 or 4 true contending teams that don't have an ace, that do have a farm system, and the idea of 1 year of Dylan Cease at $14 million is going to be so dang attractive that while the Padres will not be able to get the Soto return, they're going to get a great return. The Brewers turned trading Corbin Burns into winning their division last year. And I'm not saying that the Padres are going to win the division by trading Dylan Cease. What I'm saying is we cannot be precious about anything on this ship that's not already nailed down to the floor.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to wrap your head around, at least for me, because it opens up a new hole. It's like playing whack-a-mole. You know, you hit this, but now you've got a new hole here. However, that's kind of the reality that they're in. I mean, it's hard. I don't want to see them trade Dylan Cease or Luis Arraez, and the mileage on Luis Arraez varies in terms of trade value with whatever team you're talking to. So I'm not exactly sure what they would get back for him necessarily. Obviously, you'd have to find a willing trade partner that sees the value like the Padres do, right? But it seems like when you're in this financial reality that they're in, if they are in this financial reality, that's going to be your best bet. And I called it a poor man's Juan Soto trade earlier, not as a indictment to Dylan Cease or anything, but just because the haul won't be as big. You know, they're not Juan Soto, you know, but you're essentially trying to get back more pieces to fill more spots for a player that has more leverage to another team, right? So I think that that's a reality for them. I think as we sit here today on this day, whatever, December 9th, that is kind of where I see them going. I see them possibly trading Luis Suarez or Dylan Cease for more back. When that comes, I don't know. Kevin Acee had today too. Luis Campusano possibly being packaged in trade before next season. So maybe there is some creativity here for AJ Preller in terms of the direction they see this club headed, not just next year, in 2025, but how they're trying to form it for 26, 27, 28.
Yeah, and obviously Roki Sasaki's the golden goose. You don't have to worry about that. That's January 15th. Sometime between the 15th and the 24th, he'll make his decision. He was posted today. That is separate and apart from anything else that happens. If it happens, it's the best thing of the decade for the Padres if it happens. But what I'm rooting for right now, in that low-key rooting for sense, I'm rooting for the Yankees to sign Corbin Burns quickly, and I'm rooting for the Red Sox to respond and sign Max Fried and leave the Orioles out in the cold without an ace starter. That's when you can leverage the Orioles in a trade. And I really think Baltimore and San Diego could really line up on a good deal that is centered around Dylan Cease.
The Orioles are interesting. So the Orioles have an incredible farm system that they rarely deal. So you don't think some of them would be interesting to the Orioles? I mean, they wouldn't take the place probably of losing Burns. But
no, but we lost Burns, but we got Cease.
Yeah.
That's a great argument you can make in Baltimore.
For sure. And you have Cease, whichever team gets Cease, you have him for 1 year.
Right. Then the Orioles will be able to offer him a QO at the end of the year if you make the offseason trade.
Yes.
So they've got that in the back of their mind. Like, we get Cease for a year, then we get the qualifying offer.
Look, AJ Preller is going to restock the system one way or another. So maybe there is something to also getting prospects, that you flip, that you then turn around and try to get someone else. Where the biggest for them, I think, are rotation, and that is with or without Dylan Cease. They need to help that rotation out. They're decent on bullpen pitching, but you probably need at least
but we can work around that. I mean, to be honest, we've already got Suarez, Mitsui, Peralta, Adam, Hoeing.
You have a good pen.
Morehone.
You're losing Scott, but you still have good arms.
We've got our
there,
bullpen,
right?
pretty much.
But you need a catcher or two, depending on what you're planning to do with Luis Campusano. So you need an outfielder and you need a left fielder. What else am I missing? You need a shortstop, and depending on what they decide to do with the shortstop position.
Right. And so you need one infielder along the way /DH, or what are you going to do with Arise?
Yeah.
You have to refill left field. You have to refill catcher. You have to refill 2 rotation spots, or you have to hand Randy Vasquez and Matt Waldron a full-time starting spot.
The rotation spots are the biggest deal to me because you can still factor in Randy Vasquez and who am I missing right now?
Brito.
You can still factor them in, but you're still going to need depth. So you'd probably more look at them as like kind of your depth pieces. Like, we're going to use them. Maybe we'll go to a 6-man. Maybe, you just figure that they're not going to be at all full health the entire year, right? So to get at least a 4-5 starter at the back end of your rotation, maybe even someone at the front of your rotation, I don't know, but someone that can help alleviate some of that pressure, because if it's just on those guys, I think you're asking a lot for this rotation.
Willy Adames went to the Giants, 7 years, $182 million. The Giants and the Mets getting better. That's bad news for the Padres. It doesn't help our playoff math. Whereas, if the Dodgers just keep infinitely improving, they're still just going to win the division. That's it.
But no, I agree with you that the Giants got better. But do the Giants, even with Willy Adames, do they have a better roster in your opinion than the Padres have? Not
yet.
Either. Right?
Not yet.
But they are interested in adding pieces and another pitcher, more pitchers for them as well. I know they're looking at. So
if they sign Burns,
it's a big deal.
That's a problem. You know what I mean? But if they don't, right now I still think that that the Giants are just kind of there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a great park for Adames. I mean, San Francisco isn't a great park for anyone that's a hitter. So I'm not too scared about that one. I think the Diamondbacks are still better than the Giants as well.
What have the Diamondbacks been doing? Have they been doing anything?
Just insulting their guy Montgomery. That's about it. Right.
That's another trade chip too, right? If they're going to trade him,
yes,
and someone's going to take on that contract.
I mean, right? Except unlike Dylan Cease, Montgomery pitched to like a 6.5 ERA last year. Cease is a ready-made, easily tradable piece.
And if you're Montgomery, just like we're talking about with Michael King and Dylan Cease, you're looking at these prices and you're crossing your fingers that the market's still going to be really high next year,
right?
And you're going to have the year of your life to try to hit free agency at a time when these prices are astronomical and before a new CBA is dealt if they feel like a new CBA might not be beneficial for them.
And again, that's the underpinning of when I'm saying this. I want to make, we have to kind of repeat things on the radio a lot just because, people come in and out. But the reason I'm saying that is not because I dislike Dylan Cease or think he would be a bad starter for the Padres in 2025. I think he would obviously be the number 2 behind King or number 1 ahead of King starter on this team if he's here. It's because I look at the market, I look at our debts and obligations, and I say, how on God's green earth will we pay Dylan Cease $200 million next year? By the way, how are we going to pay Michael King $180 million next year? Because if he goes out and has the same year he had this year, he's heading out to the market as the second or third best starter on the market.
And I mean, you never know. Like they asked the owners to do what's called capital calls, where owners, the top owners, put in $20 million a piece. You get an extra $100 million. Now that has its own complications with whether the owners are willing and how many times they're asked, and then that has to come out of somewhere eventually. But I don't know that they're out of big long-term deals or big splash deals for the rest of eternity. I think that they'll have to be more conscious about the ones that they do, and you have to be a little bit more careful with the ones that don't work out. Because unlike the Mets or the Yankees or the Dodgers, who can kind of afford to eat some bad contracts, if the Padres are going along this route that their ownership and their front office is kind of saying, hey, we need to be more responsible, we need to be more balanced, they're not going to be able to eat these things as easily. You can't just, make up for the mistakes. So I don't know that they could squirrel away. They could decide, hey, this guy's really worth it. We really want to go big on this player, or maybe Jackson Merrill, who knows? But I think they're just going to be less than we've seen in previous years.
And re-signing your own guy is different than going out and paying market value.
Yeah, and being in a bidding war.
Market.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So, I completely agree with what you said. That could happen.
Right, and if Michael King and Dylan Cease have good years this year, which you want them to have as fans and as a team, you want this team to be in a good spot, their price is just going to go up.
No, it is. And that's why I think the proper strategic play is to trade one of those two pitchers. Okay, look, the best thing is get Roki Sasaki. Changes your decade, changes your franchise. Makes everything better. But either way, I think the right play strategically is you trade one of Cease or King, and I think Cease is the guy you'd move because he's both slightly more expensive and he's just got that pedigree of so many 200 strikeout seasons, right? And then you offer the qualifying offer to the other guy. And probably you lose him in the 2025 offseason, but you get back a first-round pick. It's helping you rebuild a little faster, as opposed to just getting 2 first-round picks, but you lose both of those guys, and you get no big league assets. I say trade one for big league assets, retool your team, ride the other guy in 2025, qualifying offer. He goes and signs to whomever, the Dodgers, whoever, for $1 zillion or the Yankees, but we get the draft pick back. And then we do it again. I mean, he's just going to have to do it again and again and again through the 2020s to dance around the contracts that he's got on the books.
And he is creative, so we know that about him. And he's going to have to do that exactly and find the diamonds in the rough.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, did you see all this on Friday night?
Yes.
It was a rough night for John Heyman on Friday night. But I actually kind of want to take it from a different direction.
Okay.
When we come back. I'm not here just to dunk on John Heyman.
Yeah, I don't want to dunk on you, just dunk on
No,
John
I
Heyman.
actually think, what the hell are you doing, radio guy, is my response. Is my response. Let's play it when we come back. Andy and Elsten on the Fan. This hour of 97.3 The Fan brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Let's see if I can get all the way through this time with a complete. Here we go.
Something about sauce.
Let's go.
Whoa,
hey, San Diego
whoa.
sports fans, head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings and try their new maple chipotle sauce for rich maple sweetness and a mild smoky chipotle heat. Or for a bit of a kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings. Go. Got it. All right.
Well done.
Yes, you busted out like a cheer, too.
I did. I needed to motivate myself. I've like whiffed on one word on that like 50 times.
Does it keep you up at night?
No,
It's
but
not
right now it makes me mad.
It's not the best worded.
No,
liner.
It's not.
The whole the beginning part was like Buffalo Wild Wings, and then they want you to say it again, but they don't put it twice on there because it'd be kind of weird. Buffalo Wild Wings.
Right.
Is football. It's just very odd. It's oddly written.
Yeah, it's a little clunky in the middle sentence, in my opinion. But nonetheless, I made it through that time, and I'm very happy. Okay. These are the things you think about in radio. Also, you think about, do I want to antagonize my regular guest, or do I want to engage with my regular guest?
He's an Odyssey insider, though you have access to. WFAN is an Odyssey station.
Yeah.
So it's like he gets, it's part of the deal.
Part of the deal.
Right?
John Heyman has a deal with Odyssey, MLB insider. He contributes regularly to WFAN. He's a New Yorker, of course, so makes sense. And he was on with the night show on WFAN on Friday, which is hosted by a guy named Keith McPherson. I want to say going into this, I had never heard one word of his show prior to this clip, so I have no formulated opinion on Keith McPherson. I heard Woodsy saying that he's texted with the guy in the past or listened to him or whatnot. I've never heard.
He is technically a fellow employee of the same company.
Yes, my brother's station employee.
That's right. We are colleagues with this guy somehow.
But Keith McPherson managed to get John Heyman to completely go, ham on him, to go off the handle. By antagonizing him, by straight up antagonizing him on Friday on his appearance on the Keith McPherson show. We've got a clip that Which one do you want played first? Do you have the one where he actually says he's on Boris's payroll?
I have the other one that is attached. It says, for those who didn't hear the interview, this
that
seemed
part.
to be the
Yeah,
part.
play that part first, because that is the first part.
All right, I do have the audio of this.
Yeah, let's take a listen.
This is Keith McPherson on the show.
Let's move on. Juan Soto. You knew that was going to come up. I saw your tweet that Juan Soto might come up, and that's the main thing. And when I look at your tweets and when I look at your history, I always say, okay, this guy's part of Boris Corp. What's the percentage of the Juan Soto contract that you're going to get when you break the news on where he signs?
No. Unfortunately, I get no money for anything. I have no financial stake in any of it.
Not even 0.01? A 0.01 would be a lot.
No, no stake. I don't know where you get that from. But,
so how does it work with Boris? Like I also mentioned earlier tonight, I'm like, he's not going to break the Juan Soto news. Scott Boris is West Coast based, and it's a 3-hour time difference, and it's Friday night, and 5 p.m. comes out there, and it's 8 p.m. out here, and he's probably like, hey, John, you're good. You're off the hook. Don't worry about it. We're not going to break this news tonight. You can go on, tell him about Clay Holmes.
There's a lot of competition for these stories. You never know who can get them. I mean, certainly, there are writers who are represented by agents. I am not. They may have advantages. There are all sorts of things at play here. We're all trying our best. I get some stories, won't get some others.
Now, it's been 2 years, but I remember where I was when I saw the arson judge appears headed to the San Francisco Giants tweet. I love that you had a typo in it, because that made me just feel like it wasn't real in itself. And I know, obviously, we're way past that. But I've also said it would be just, awesome if you get to break the Juan Soto news, because that puts that so far in the rear view. It's like, forget about that. Here's the Juan Soto tweet. People are going to put that on T-shirts. I still think you're going to be the guy. How do you feel about the conversation people are having about what Aaron Judge got 2 years ago and what Juan Soto is going to be getting now. Two guys that have played right field for the New York Yankees going.
That's kind of where it ends.
Yeah, and then the next clip is where he's gonna leave the show. Having heard that entire thing, I will say that Keith McPherson was clearly trying to make pointed jokes.
Yeah.
And then turn it into a question. So his actual question that he's asking there is about potentially Soto being a Yankee getting paid twice as much as Aaron Judge. But it started with, bringing up this tweet. Which now I guess we need to play part 2 of the clip, right, Andy? Because here's where he's going to react to that part, and then he's going to get mad.
I've broken a lot of stories. I think the reason that got such play is because people believe everything I tweet. I've had 100,000 tweets, and, you get one that was wrong, and it did say appears, and I know I rushed it, and it was a big mistake, and I regret it, but it's 2 years later.
No regrets.
I think
it's like
at some point, I think someone could probably drop it if they're a nice person.
What I think is it just like how I introduced you. Everybody in baseball knows who you are. So one, it's a credit to your work, your following, and how.
By the way, I won't be going on with you again. The whole thing has been a disaster.
That's okay.
I can't even believe you said that to question my integrity.
Are you being serious right now?
I'm being serious. Yeah,
John.
Asking me if I'm getting a cut because I have a relationship with an agent. That's outrageous. I know you're not a journalist. You don't know anything about this. I know you don't, but that's an outrageous comment. You should know that
it's
much.
Friday night at 8:30, John.
You should know that much.
And
I'm done with you.
I am
and
not
I'm
taking
done with
this that serious.
WFAN. Goodbye.
John, thank you for
I
joining
can't
us,
even
John.
believe it.
Thank you,
I can't
John.
even believe it.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time. He's got to get to bed. I did not expect it to go that way.
That's it.
I think.
What do you mean? He's antagonizing him the whole time.
I think it's just kind of inexperience or something. I think it's something where, Heyman was playing along for a while. He was playing along. He was like,
but
okay.
He was kind of like awkwardly laughing.
Yeah, he's like, I'll entertain it. We'll laugh at it. Then I will apologize for the regretful. I will humbly eat the fact that I shouldn't have tweeted what I did a few years ago for Aaron Judge and yada yada. Funny tweets. I'm not getting any cut. This is like. I feel like they went, it's one thing if there was like one thing, but this is like 3 or 4 questions where John Heyman at this point is probably like, why am I awake doing this? Like, why, like he's probably busy, wants to go do other things. I'm not saying that, he probably didn't need to take it up a notch there at the end. I think maybe,
he was obviously
the
really
whole thing
irritated.
was awkward, right? He was obviously really irritated. But at the same time, he's probably like, what's the point of this interview? When am I going to...
There was no point.
Right.
There was
Like,
no point.
what are you going to ask me here? Like, come prepared. Ask me something more. Don't just kind of talk about my...
He didn't really ask him anything. He would just
No,
make
he didn't.
comments.
Yeah.
And then, John Heyman would just awkwardly respond, yeah, well, this kind of goes it was incredibly awkward, very unprofessional.
If it was me, I think I would be, but that's not John Heyman. Like, we're 2 different people. I'd probably get off the phone and I'd be a little like, okay, I'm not going to go on again. You know what I mean? Or I'm
Yeah.
going to be busy or whatever. But that's John Heyman. That's a New York guy. He's going to just say it like it is. Hey,
And there's
what's
only
the point of this?
so much just constant insulting when you're taking the time to be on the show, and I know he gets paid to do those, but it's like it comes to a point is like, why am I just going to sit here and get ridiculed on air?
Right.
I think
for
sometimes
this?
you have to not treat the guests like they're your buddy all the time. They're not always your buddy. Like, just treat them like a professional and carry on.
Well, that level of ball busting, if you guys were really close friends or something, whatever. But honestly,
You have to be really close friends.
Yeah, and here's the point I really wanted to make, having now heard that a third time, and this just comes from my personal experience of being on the air. There are many times that you are on the air, you are in a conversation, something happens, right? And you're in an entertainment mode because you're on the air. Like John Heyman on that call, he knows he's on WFAN. He's on the radio. There are tens of thousands of New Yorkers listening to him right then. So if somebody is going to pull his card, right, the first thing he's going to do is kind of laugh and play along and chuckle with it, because otherwise you just look like a complete a-hole, right? But, and this has happened to me in the past, like something is said and you kind of roll along, and then like 2 or 3 minutes later it clicks in, wait a second, This guy just actually said that thing. I didn't really kind of process it.
Right.
I think I heard in that clip John Heyman process over 3-4 minutes what was said at the very beginning, which is, hey, you're a stooge. You're on Boris's payroll.
Right.
How much money are you going to make when the Soto contract comes out? I mean, that is absolutely an insult. And 3.5 minutes later, he responds to that insult as if it just happened. Right. But it's because it took that time kind of like for the back of his brain to process. Dude, this guy just completely insulted your character and your integrity.
And
Or
it's
it was
just
a list of all of
unnecessary.
them, though, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if that was the only thing, he would have been like, okay, that's kind
Maybe
of a
they
low
have some other
blow.
history too. I don't know.
Right, but like if you start, it was that leading into another, leading into another, leading into another, and it was just like all of it together. He just probably exploded at the same time, which I think a lot of normal people would do, especially when you're getting, they're questioning the integrity of your actions as a reporter for your job, which is something that you definitely need is credibility to do said job. I mean, it's very embarrassing.
And on one level, look, I mean, I've made a very similar joke about, like, if you see John Heyman talking, check for Scott Boris's hand up the back of his shirt. I mean, like, I've made that joke. If John Heyman's on the show, I'm not going to be like, hey, dude, are you Scott Boris's stooge? But I do respect that Keith McPherson took his material to put it right directly at the subject. I mean, that is something that you can choose to do. Nonetheless, I'm Team Heyman on this one.
And it's Heyman's, whatever you might think about whether or not he should be or shouldn't be, or you can believe everything he says or whatever, it's his job as a reporter to be as close to Boris as he can possibly be to try to get information.
How do you think he gets the info?
And there's so many reporters, Ken Rosenthal, locally, John Heyman, national and local, who will tell you they were that close to an agent and the agent burned them. And you still have, this is the Woj bomb of last week.
Yes.
You can
Bingo.
establish all of these relationships and be this close to them. They'll still burn you, but guess what? Then you got to go right back to them and be like, hey, man, that sucked, but here, let me try again. Like, it is your job because that's the only way. That's the only way for you to be an insider. You've got to try to get on the ins with some of these agents. And some of these, and the agents are going to have their favorite reporters or their favorite sources or the sources they feel like they can dangle more than others. But John Heyman, as much as you might not like him, he's probably putting out information that you're reading and you're getting because of his relationships with agents.
Yeah.
So it's the nature of the business.
I could not help but think about Wojnarowski and what he said about all of that work is nothing but vapor. And that at the end,
but that's what they're
it
getting
doesn't
paid
exist.
for,
It
right?
is. It is. But like that's the tough life that John Heyman has staked out for himself. Is that at this time of the month, he's just going to be ridiculed and made fun of, and he has to be online 24/7 every single minute of every day because people are going to blow his spot to pieces if he didn't come out with that Soto tweet first. But he did. And he had to take all the slings and arrows.
Did he break it?
I'm pretty sure that's what I saw.
Or did Passan break it?
I don't know.
I don't care.
No,
This is the whole thing. I don't
Heyman
know
was
who
first.
broke it.
Heyman
Did
was
he?
first on the Soto deal, and then,
Okay.
and then it was passing.
But that's the funny thing is, like, I have no idea who broke it. I just know that it was going around.
Because it doesn't matter.
And the only reason why I know
to
that
them,
is
like,
because it
they
happened
can
last
shop
night.
it to their employers, I guess. Like I'm saying from there, they that makes them the insider that they are, right? But yeah. Anyways,
Tough life.
Yeah.
Let's take our last break. When we come back, it's time to ask us anything. We only have 6 minutes for you to call, but we can if we open the lines.
Voice messages.
We can read some voice messages off the Odyssey app, or you can give us a call right now, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you call before 1:50 p.m., we'll get you on the air. Just come ready with a question to ask, and we'll get it next on Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Thanks to everyone for being here today. Tomorrow, right back with another day of winter meetings coverage. We'll have Sam Levitt on live from the winter meetings one more time. Well, one of two more times. He'll be on Wednesday, too. Also, we've been tracking down some reporters from around the division to try and get thoughts on what's happening elsewhere. We'll go to the place that is guaranteed to have the least action in Major League Baseball this year, Denver, Colorado. Talk to Thomas Harding tomorrow. Find out in 2 minutes or less what the Rockies are up to. Oh, nothing? Okay.
No, nothing.
Chill. How's your winter been? Okay, cool.
How's the dinosaur bone at the stadium?
I'd like to hear a little bit about Bud Black, see what's going on.
Sure. We'll figure out 4 minutes with him. So all that coming up tomorrow. We'll play Mind the Gap tomorrow. Match game on Wednesday. Anybody knows on Thursday. There's your silly games layout. And now, let's get a phone call in. Eight 833-288-0973 is our number. It's really too late to call. We're just going to take Jerry in Santee here and see what he's got. Hi, Jerry. Welcome to the show. Ask us anything.
Hey, Craig, Annie. Hey, just a quick thought. Why has it not been brought up the possibility of Jake Cronenworth playing shortstop, since that's where he came up when he first signed?
Oh, it's a good question, Jerry. I'd say the answer is that the Padres don't see him as a full-time shortstop. In a very short span of 2021, he played a few games at short in September. His defensive numbers weren't good. Admittedly, that's a small sample size. But, Annie, I just don't think they want to commit to him full-time at short.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's an option there for sure because they need a bridge, right? But if you put him there, then you've got to figure out the rest of the infield.
Yeah, I mean, you could put him at short, Xander at second, Arise at first.
I more likely think Xander would just slide over to short and Jake. I think they prefer Jake at second. But can he play short? Yes, he can, and maybe that is a consideration that they're looking at.
Yeah, I don't think you pick the guy that you've got the least confidence in to take the job full time. I think Jake is your third choice. People get hurt. He can play there for kind of like Tyler Wade could play there. You know what I mean? But you didn't want to see him there for any length of time. It's a really interesting question, though, Jerry. And Jake Cronenworth is one of those guys. If you're talking about creative moves, it's not impossible that you could make a creative move with him this year. It's not likely. It's not impossible.
Yeah, I mean, depending on, sometimes Jake's in trade talks as well, right? So, what are their plans for Jake? I think that they want to keep the infield fairly set, right? So Jake at second. I'm sorry. Why am I saying that? They would really prefer Xander at second,
right?
And Jake at first,
and then shortstop at shortstop.
Yeah, but you've got to make it work if you're not getting Ha-Seong Kim back, and even if you got him back, his surgery prohibits him from being ready at the beginning of the season. So I think that they're trying to keep things as status quo as they can until Leo Dallas DeVries comes in,
right?
But are those options on the table? Yeah, absolutely. Like, depending on who falls to them or who doesn't, I think they've got to look at all of that.
And last week, we talked about Tatis. We talked about Merrill the week before that. I mean, these guys are shortstops. Mm-hmm. But if you are counting on DeVries to be your shortstop going forward, you don't want to pull one of those guys into short and then tell them a year later you're pulling them back out of short and back to the outfield. Yeah. So that's probably why, to be honest, all the way through, you haven't heard Cronenworth to short. It's because they're trying to maintain continuity in these positions, and they just don't see him as a long-term shortstop for the team. Great question, though. It's the one question today for Ask Us Anything. We'll have more time.